Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we will first start tonight's evening with one of our favorite parts, which is the Employee of the Month. And this month, the Employee of the Month is Carl Davis. And for many of you who were not aware, this December, this Christmas season, we brought back Santa at the park on Windward Way, and Carl was instrumental in that, so we wanted to recognize him. And with that said, I'd like to read a few comments made by his supervisor, Sergeant Dave Dorchak. To embrace the holiday season in our village, we wanted to rekindle a lost celebration from years ago, our Santa in the Park at Windward Way Park. When the news spread of Santa's upcoming visit, Carl volunteered immediately. Without any hesitation, Carl and his wife, Kara, stepped up to prepare, organize, and ensure a lovely gift was provided for every child. After countless hours of shopping, wrapping, and decorating 107 presents, the checklist was complete. Thanks to Carl and Kara, Santa was geared up to delight all of the children. His kind-hearted nature and dedicated commitment to giving back to our community exemplifies a true meeting of a positive role model in our village. So we wanted to thank Carl tremendously. It was a fantastic celebration in addition to all the other amazing things that Carl does. So I will pass this Employee of the Month recognition for Carl. We'll pass this down, and I just wanted to thank Carl for all of his hard work and dedication to our village. The next portion of our meeting is the public comment portion. Anyone wishing to address the board should sign in. We provide 3 minutes per speaker, so please approach the podium and state your name and address for the board minutes. First up is Kevin McAllister from Defend H2O.
Where's the sign-in sheet?
We have a sign-in sheet here. We can get to you right after. We've got a few names here, but Francis, we've got our eye on you.
Good evening, Mayor, fellow trustees. My name's Kevin McAllister. I'm president of Defend H2O, based in Sag Harbor. As the board knows, my organization is Clean Water Advocacy. I've been participating and opining, if you will, on AgWAM for a number of years, including commissioning one of the studies. I think the board, with bringing forward, I'll say, a concept for remediation, I'd like to share my credentials. My undergraduate work is in biological sciences, marine, and natural resources. I hold a master's of science in coastal zone management. Great deal of the work was in coastal processes, based on lifestyle, training, professional experience. I am absolutely an expert in coastal processes. My work in Florida was largely in consultancy as well as government. Several years in consultancy, doing environmental impact assessments, contributing to EISs, a great deal of monitoring. In my role with Palm Beach County, which I was employed for 12 years, much of that was in the regulatory field with permitting as well as restoration projects. I've been involved with multiple dredging projects on a large scale, performing the monitoring. I won a state acclaim for a dune restoration project as part of that system, monitoring reefs, water quality, turbidity, wetland restoration. So I guess when I'm trying to emphasize my understanding of water quality, the regulations as it relates to federal level down to the state level and the local level, as well as restoration, particularly the construction end of things. So I have seen it all. I've seen it on a very large scale, the good, the bad, the ugly. I offer this up with respect to a remediation approach for Lake Agawam. I hope the board, in recognizing the need to remove organic sediments for revitalization of that coastal pond, will explore, as I suggest, open water discharge or riparian discharge. This is absolutely permittable by DEC standards. They have guidelines to in-water and riparian discharges. And again, as a trained biologist that has extensive experience in water quality monitoring, I'm suggesting to you that this is worth exploring, that the short-term impacts are well worth the long-term gains. And I try from my work to be very pragmatic in addressing environmental issues as it relates to, obviously, development and, just society, if you will. But ultimately to bring forward a long-term view to these issues. So I ask that to the extent it's possible that I be invited into this dialogue, and I think I can offer a great deal. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next public comment is from Bill Fox.
Hi, Bill Fox, 574 County Road 39. I'm here about the landscaper registration, and what more is there to discuss?
This is public comment, so the board's not going to respond.
Oh,
If
is
you
that
have
it?
comments that you would like to give to the board,
Well, I'm
can hear
confused as
that.
to what's going on, so that's my comment. And I went down to the village to get myself set up for the season January 15th, and we couldn't do that. So, I'm going to proceed with doing what I'm doing. And, I guess, I'm just confused with the whole thing. So the whole process has just been confusing and a waste of my time. So I'm a little miffed about that.
Thank you. Would any board members like to respond?
I'll
You're
just
no
mention-
obligation to, but
No, I'm not, this is not a dialogue, but we did, back in December, I believe, for one of our earlier meetings, we did extend the registration for it until March 1st, I believe. So that was announced. It was publicized, because we did want to discuss and the options to make it a little more lenient. So that's to answer your question, and that's on that, okay?
So nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Nothing yet, correct. Thank you.
our next speaker is Sheila Pfeiffer, 56 Hildreth Street. Sheila, welcome.
Thank you. Sheila Pfeiffer, Hildreth Street, Southampton. I am here for the third time bringing up the subject of light pollution in general, and I'm hoping third time is the charm. I would like to know in a practical way how we can, as a village, look into adopting or adapting and adopting the guidelines that have existed for now 11 years in the town, and we are within the town. So it seems to me it's a pretty simple process. I realize there's always complications to anything, but light pollution does damage to humans, wildlife, and the environment. I'm not going to give a whole lecture on it here, but there's plenty of information out there. And I don't know what the process is with the village about having committees or boards or what the next step is, but this is my third time bringing it up in public comments, and I'm hoping that maybe someone could let me know what I need to do next. I am now a member of the committee on the town for dark skies, so I am very happy to serve as a liaison, and I'm hoping that that will be possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Michael Tessitore.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustees, Mike Tessitore, Hunters for Deer, and I'm the owner of Suffolk County Deer Management. I missed last meeting, but I wanted to have the opportunity to make some comments that were brought up about me and about some activities. Ms. Carver, can you stamp these in? I made copies for every one of the board members. So, last meeting, Mrs. Genovese brought up at 46 minutes, 39 seconds about why my deer blinds were taken off of public-owned land. I don't use deer blinds. What she's referring to is tree stands. We hunt in an elevated platform so the back stops the ground. She asked the board why they were taken. Mr. Cradaville said the village had a policy, a no hunting policy on village-owned land. I looked. I don't see such a policy. It's not a village law, which Mr. Cradaville said it was a policy resolution. Ms. Genevieve said, in what form is it? A policy, resolution, or anecdotal? Mr. Cradaville said it's a village law. It is not a village law. I can hunt on public land. If that land is posted for no hunting, then I cannot hunt on posted land. What I gave you, the first page, is an email that I sent to Mr. Cradaville. For the past 2 years, we've been having problems with 2 village employees looking for my ladder stands on community preservation property while they're working. They also took it on their own to remove those stands. According to the last meeting, Mr. Cradaville said that they were on village property, law enforcement was called, and they, meaning the stands, were taken, and I retrieved them from police headquarters. Who gave the order for my stands to be removed? Because my stands were there legally. So who said they could take my stands out of those woods? I received 3 stands. I'm missing way more than 3 stands. Mr. Irving came up and explained to the board that there was a policy of no hunting on village-owned land. Page 2 of the document that I gave you refers to the property that Ms. Genevieve was speaking about. I circled in red who owns that property. So if there's a law, a village code law, that says that I can't hunt on village-owned property, please tell me what it is, where it is, because I'm going to challenge it. Because you can't do that. New York State DEC preempts the field. But in this case, the village doesn't own it. So there's no reason why my stands should have been taken.
3 minutes.
Okay? They should not have been taken. I'm not happy about it. And I'm not happy that it was said that, basically I was hunting illegally, because I was not. Land wasn't posted. I could put those stands there. They were removed without my permission. That to me is important. I know I only have 3 minutes, but you spent several minutes talking about me, and I think this board owes it to me for me to clear the air as to what I do and what I don't do. Because anyone that knows me knows that I operate fairly, and they'll say that I'm brutally honest. And to me, that's a problem. One of the things that Mayor Irving did say was that we had an agreement that I would not hunt village-owned properties, and he's correct. Page 3 is a village-owned property that I did not hunt. And the reason why I did not hunt that property
You're at 4 minutes now.
was because of the fact that there was hiking on that property, okay? But there are tree stands in that property. The other reason why he said that we didn't want us hunting in village-owned property was as, of course, conflict with village employees. Now.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay.
Michael, we appreciate you coming here and...
I'll be back
and,
next meeting to finish the rest of.
Well, there's a second public comment, too, if you'd like.
Michael, while you only get 3 minutes, we do appreciate you coming, and my line is always open, so you're always welcome to call me directly, anytime,
You got it.
morning or night. Thank you. Our next public speaker is Mackie Finnerty, Wilkie Street.
Good evening, Mackie Finnerty, Woolley Street. I'm here to find out what's happening about the tree legislation. As you know, the first time it was introduced was 5 years ago. I do very much feel that we are fiddling while Rome is burning. Another piece of legislation was put in this October, and there was a hearing about that, and meetings were held about it, and now we're in February. And much to my shock, as I think you know, and I hope that all 5 of you go, I know that several of you have, that right in the center of the village, a huge property was clear cut. Every single tree cut down. It's hard to even stand there and not cry. it is, I think Post Crossing is probably one of our most beautiful streets in town. Everything is clear-cut between two of the great big houses on that. You now stand on Post Crossing and you see the cars and buildings and stores on Hampton Road. I don't know who owns it. I know there's an issue there. Somebody died and contracts fell through and something, but somebody had enough authority to cut down all the trees for two houses, which I don't understand. You really have to do something soon. It's not going to help much if we wait till all the trees in the village have been cut down while we've been talking about it for 5 years. I know you had a meeting with arborists, and I respect them tremendously, and I think when you hire them, they do everything they can to help preserve your trees. This is a perfect example of when they said, well, don't worry, we can take care of it, you don't need legislation. This is a perfect example of what the problem is. I'm sure there were no arborists involved in this thing. The trees are cut down long before an arborist is ever involved in trying to save the trees. Then, once somebody builds a nice house after they've destroyed everything, then they call in people to help preserve the trees and make sure they're healthy and so on, which is a good thing. A little late then, and usually they're much smaller trees and so on. We really need legislation. I know we're waiting for a permanent lawyer to help with this situation. I received a memo that over 4,000 towns in the United States have tree legislation. I really don't like it when we're the backwards people. There's no excuse for it with the education level in Southampton Village. I don't know if any of you followed it, but at Davos, as you know, where all the wealthy people of the world convene to solve the problems of the world. And the one thing they were able to agree on was that trees were the most important thing that had to be done. And even our White House agreed to participate. That's pretty amazing on the environment. So all the countries of the world, it's something like they vowed to do 3 million trees or something. I don't know how that's being paid for or where it's being done. But that was the one thing they could agree on. So we should be, if you can get everybody at Davos, a lot of them not very environmental, you can do it. This is a tiny little village. These are our trees. We see them every day. And we have to do more than stop clear cutting. Of course, we have to preserve the village trees, but we have to stop people from cutting down mature trees on their land. To plant new ones takes, they say, 30 years before it pulls any significant carbon out of the air. So it's not enough just to start. It'll help, but as you know, all the scientists have said we have 10 years till 2030. To solve this problem before we cannot solve it anymore. Please get going on it. Thanks. I know you will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meg.
Next is Phil Matthews.
Hi there. I'm Phil Matthews from 45 Hampton Road. I'm a lifelong resident of Southampton Village, and I'm here to support the possibility of a swimming pool. I grew up in this village. As I grew up, I didn't think I knew anybody that didn't know how to swim. The amount of people that we have around here that can't swim today is staggering. I think a pool is past due, and it would start to rectify the problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jim Arnold. Jim, good to see you.
Hi, Mayor and trustees. Thank you for your time. I'm here to support the Star Aqua Center as well. I agree with Phil and the rest of my members of the Ocean Rescue that we believe that the pool would be very beneficial to your community. The education alone for Southampton's school district to send their kids to East Hampton to take swim lessons is pretty amazing, but you could have them right here in your own backyard. So we're in support, and we look forward to helping out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward for public comment? Francis? Thank you.
I have two things. Francis Genovese, 209 Bishop's Lane. I have two things I want to discuss. Can I get a yes, no on the first one so I don't eat into my 3 minutes? Has the village reached out to the town and advised them that they want to be notified in a timely manner about the full gospel application for the affordable housing on County Road 39? Has the village identified itself as an interested party and reached out to them?
We got a nod over there.
Yes. Okay. So the second thing I'd like to discuss is to go back again to the interesting FOIL request that was brought up at the last meeting. First off, I'd like to acknowledge Dawn McDougall. I don't know who she is, and she is not on the list of people who are suspect for having contacted the mayor. So I would like, she does recognize in a letter to the press that FOIL had a chilling effect and that it had a stink of the town hall under Anna Thronehull. So thank you to her, whoever she is. Now, when that FOIL came down at the last meeting, I filed a request, as a person who was named on it, I filed a request to have the information that was missing from the FOIL that was given to us provided. That is, the return email address of, quote, Mary Kate Wilson, the pseudonymous filer of the request, and other things having to do with the document. I was given the usual 5 days before that was acknowledged, and noticed that it would take 20 days to provide that information. Now, people who know about the FOIL know that that's the law, but there is also a whole body of advisory opinions that state that the FOIL is based on presumption of access. I can provide the chapters in the law. You can hold up a FOIL for 20 days if it's complex, if it requires staffing to provide the information. But what the FOIL law says is that anything that there is a distinction made between archival and information that has to be researched and at-hand information. Now, I would like to know why I am waiting now 2 weeks to learn the date that FOIL was filed and the return address, the email address where ostensibly the information requested would be sent. Why am I waiting still for that information? Here's one of the ways that the FOIL law says that you can hold the information for 20 days. It's complex, it requires an inordinate amount of research, and you need to hire staff. Any of that applicable?
Ms.
Now,
Genovese, this
I'm
is
on
public comment, so if you want to comment, you can, but they're not going to respond to you at this
Okay,
point.
yeah, that's fine. That's a standard operating procedure. But one of the things that has been brooded about is who filed the FOIL. Now, I'm on record. I believe that the FOIL originated in the village hall. I'm not interested in the three theories of who might have filed it, but I think it originated in the village hall. So I would like to know the information, readily over-the-counter information. Why have I not been provided with the return address, the return email address, and why, when people ask about this FOIL, were they given a copy of this FOIL on village letterhead? Why?
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll leave those questions for you.
Thank you, Francis. Good questions, and we'll have a look into that. I'm curious as well. Okay, is there any additional public comment?
Yes.
Father, please.
Father Patrick Edwards, 100 South Main Street. I'm coming up to represent a group of people and organizations, including Liz Dwyer, Director of the Senior Services for the town of Southampton, Liz Burns, Director of the Rogers Memorial Library, Tom Edmonds, Executive Director of Southampton History Museum, Judy Johnson, a member of the Southampton Village Youth and Senior Citizens Affairs Committee, and Kimberly Allen of the Southampton Village Trustees, who's worked with us in a coalition seeking to put together a senior luncheon club that will be offered primarily through those bodies that we represent. And what we're hoping to be able to do is to bring together this club, offering a meal on approximately a monthly basis. Right now, we're looking towards usually the fourth Thursdays of each month, and that this club will be allowing not only food, but also an opportunity for socialization, community building, and a chance for people to hear about valuable services and engage in some fun and general activities. The meals will be provided by the Hampton Bays Senior Center. They'll be delivered by them. Those meals will be helped and served by staff members from that organization. The first one is scheduled for February 27th and will be from 11 to 1. As a matter of information, registration is required for each of these events and can be made through contacting the Hamptons Bays Senior Center at 631-728-1235. They also have transportation options that are available, and arrangements can be made to that same number. And the registration closes for the first event on 21st of February. Our first menu item will be shepherd's pie, which is extremely popular amongst the folks that have enjoyed it before. And each one of these will not only include a meal, but will also have presentations that will be done in rotation from the Senior Center, the Rogers Memorial Library, and the Southampton History Museum. There'll also be occasional public service information that'll be provided through members of the village and other sources that would be able to come in and give that information for us. And they will vary, and they'll include things like games and other activities, as well as lectures by those organizations. And finally, I just want to mention that St. John's will also be providing additional entertainment and activities for those who'd like to linger afterwards. Our first offering will be, since it's the election season, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington will be shown as a movie that we can all sit back and enjoy and stay past the 1 o'clock time for those who wish to. We hope that this will begin as an opportunity for such senior services to expand here inside the village, and we can work as a partnership with each of those organizations, with the trustees, the mayor's office, and anyone else who would like to see something more being performed. We're very grateful for you hearing about this, and we would hope that we have your blessing and in this activity as we go forward. And we hope to keep you informed. And as a matter of support for this, I've also have some flyers that we would like to be able to share with you that will give that information and other activities.
Where is the first one being held?
Could you clarify where it's going to be, please?
It is each time at St. John's Episcopal Church at 100 South Main Street.
Oh, so it's every time, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Father Patrick.
you.
And also thank you for being the Mad Hatter yesterday, along with Georgette Chapek, who was our Queen of Hearts, and Tom Edmonds and Liana, and Mary Lynch, who put on such a nice event for our daycare, for our senior care center on County Road 39. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I was singing.
Is there any other additional public comment? Okay. If there's no additional public comment, we have a very exciting board presentation coming up, several actually. The next is the apparatus purchase from the Southampton Village Fire Department.
Gentlemen.
Alfie, come on down.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Father. This is pretty cool, actually.
Isn't this nice?
Yeah, this is yeah, what are you doing over there?
Alfie, come on, you can speak.
I can. Need him with me. Emotional sport. Alfred Callahan, Assistant Chief for the Southampton Village Fire Department. We're here this evening after about a year-long process for the replacement of our unit 7336. Currently, 36 is a in-service 2,800-gallon tanker. This committee was formed approximately 1 year ago. At that formation of the committee, we took a look at our district, the uses of the apparatus, our needs as a department for our fire protection district. And it was determined at that time that a tanker was no longer the primary need for especially the east end of the district, which this truck covers. At this time, I want to say, go on, about 99% of the village has a hydrant and water system. The east end of our protection district going into Watermill, the only area of concern with water is Deerfield Road, which does have electric wells for us, and just about all the properties on that road are within reach of our supply lines to the nearest hydrants on Montauk Highway, Hedda Pond, in that area and towards the north side of Deerfield. So at that time, we looked at what we don't have as apparatus in this department. One of the main things we were looking at is inclement weather vehicles, the size of vehicles with technology, with the equipment growth. As time has moved forward, properties stay the same. Some of the access to properties in this village has stayed the same. We do have a couple properties of concern with very narrow driveways, sharp turns in driveways, some properties that have support structures on those properties, pool houses, support garages that are hard to access from the driveway. So we were looking at the size of the vehicle, and a few other features that we have on all of our trucks that we want to see stay on any vehicle we purchase. So with those in mind, we found right now it's the Rosenbauer, the trade name is the Timberwolf vehicle. We wanted the capabilities of a vehicle that would have a pump on it that could run as a primary attack vehicle if we needed it to. If any of our Class A engines can't fit into a property, if they can't access parts of properties, none of them can go over grass or softer land. We needed a vehicle that could act as a pumper when needed. If we didn't have that need at a property, we needed a vehicle that could operate as a supply truck in place of an engine at various calls. We were also looking for what we could do with less water, with less manpower, so we wanted a truck that could be run with a smaller crew if needed, and in remote places where water was tough to bring in. And with that, we looked at this vehicle and a few others. The Timberwolf has a high-pressure water system, which you're about to hear more about from the committee chairman. It does have four-wheel drive capability for inclement weather, both in the wintertime with snow and ice, as well as during the warm months if we have any kind of hurricane or high water situations. It is a smaller vehicle than any of our Class A pumpers that you do see out on the roads with similar capability. It is a rear mount pump, which is different from any other truck we have right now. Most of all four of our engines that you see are top mount pumps, meaning the pump operator is actually up on the truck operating the pump. We do have a side mount pump with the operator on the side of the vehicle. This is the first one that would be run from the rear. And it has what we call pump and roll capability, meaning the operator can actually put the truck into pump, get everything situated with the pump and the systems, pulling up to a scene, and have the truck ready to go when they come to a stop, and even pump from the cab of the vehicle if need be. So this is a vehicle, it met basically all the kind of needs that we saw. We challenged the committee to find a vehicle that could try to do all of this, kind of a Swiss Army truck pumper hybrid that we needed. This is a vehicle that's in our replacement plan, so the fire department, through good planning and cooperation and assistance with all the parties involved between the village, the department members over the years, the Southampton Fire District, we have been able to basically form a 25-year replacement plan on all of our vehicles. So with that, we have most of our vehicles on a 20-year replacement, our front due, engines, rescue, basically the trucks with a pump, and a few others on a 25-year replacement. So the money for this vehicle has been earmarked for quite some time now. So as far as the purchase of this vehicle, we're not looking for any a bond or any tax impact on the taxpayers. And we asked the committee to do all this within the budget that would originally be there for the tanker. The vehicle, you do have the books in front of you that do have some of the information on the vehicle. But I am going to turn this over to Ken Rothwell. He's the chairman of the fire department's committee that went out to work on this vehicle. They spent, as I said, about a year on this with tireless, endless nights and a lot of meetings. So I'm going to let him talk about the truck itself, and I'll be here if you have any questions about that. So, Ken?
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Well said. So yeah, we started about a year and a half ago. I'll first say, just for the record, my name is Ken Rothwell. I'm a volunteer firefighter in the Southampton Fire Department, close to 18 years, past captain for about 4 or 5 years. We began to comprise a committee about a year and a half ago. And we looked around our neighboring departments for assistance. We have traveled through Shelter Island, through New Jersey, through Pennsylvania, looking at different apparatuses. But the key when this began was, as the chief mentioned, we're retiring a tanker truck from the continuous service, we'd still like to hold on to the apparatus for those major events that happen, on a rare basis, Main Street fires and things like that. But we weren't looking for an additional tanker. What we did is we, as a committee, reviewed and met with our 3 chiefs over the past year and a half and looked at, as firefighters, we don't look at our strengths, we look at our weaknesses. Find, where is there a missing link? And in today's day and age, houses are larger, complexes are larger, properties stay the same size. It makes it smaller, and apparatus gets larger. And so it makes it harder for our fire department apparatuses to respond and to get into certain locations. Flag lots are difficult. In Southampton, where predominantly everybody surrounds their house with hedges and puts their guarding fortress around with their fences and everything else, and it makes firefighting apparatus approach on scene a difficult nature. And so we looked at the storm capabilities. We're having a meeting right now, and as many of you probably know, we're right in the flood zone for a hurricane and things like that. We've been fortunate since Hurricane Gloria not to sustain that, but we always have to prepare for it. So, but the apparatus is an apparatus that's needed on a continuing basis. It's an essential apparatus that's going to be part of our everyday use and part of our everyday response. So when we put the committee together, we were looking to find all those little niches where we're weak within the fire department. We don't have a Class A pumper that is a 4x4 that get through tight situations, snowstorms, flood zones. This is a truck that can travel through 2 feet of water on response. Gets us again into the narrow driveways, flag lots. It's smaller than your typical Class A pumper, so it has a smaller turning radius, making it more accessible, getting to that pool house behind the building. It has a push bar on the front of it that's going to get us through any gates, hedges, trees, shrubberies that allows us to clear any debris in roadways. Has a winch system that can be moved and put on all 4 sides, and to assist in moving debris, clearing roadways, opening gates, pulling trees aside, all sorts of that, moving vehicles. It also has an extreme lighting package that's on it in terms of one of the things that I think we're weak in is our fire police do an incredible job, but this with the lighting package, sometimes when you have a major accident on County Road 39 and it's at nighttime and you're trying to block off different roadways, you have limited access that could really light up the scene. And so the fire department apparatuses are out there and limited in numbers, and sometimes we have our firefighters and volunteer in their own vehicles with flashlights standing out on a major highway in the middle of the night, and it's a risk. And so this has a great lighting apparatus where we can get right in the center of Dean's Corners and we can light up the whole street and really create a much better safety working environment around the fire scene. It has in the front a front water turret. Hazmat becomes things. When we have on-scene operations where, sadly from time to time when we have rescue squad calls where blood, debris is in the roadway, we have firefighters taking a hose out and manually, clearing streets and things like that where we're doing what we refer to as washdowns. This is now going to allow us to stay within the cab. Keeps our crew safe, and we can operate the turret, water from the front sitting inside the cab. During bad storms, we could use the front turret to clear storm drains and push debris away, and allowing for drainage and better situations to continue working from within the cab. 4-wheel drive response, we've been asked in years past where we're transporting doctors and nurses to hospitals when people can't make it through different storms. And so this is a vehicle that has able to transport multi-passengers. That's what got us from a 2-person cab to a 4-person cab, specifically for evacuations, transport, and emergency situations. Has the capability of fighting brush fires, field fires, and doing that all from within the cab. So now we're not putting in our typical brush trucks. We have our response team outside where there's debris blowing this and that, and they can do this from inside the cab now, which is pretty impressive. Biggest thing is it's a high-pressure system in which we have no apparatus, nor does any of our neighboring departments that in our area that have a high-pressure hose system. Typically, a firefighter works with a hose line, and typically when the hose reaches 125 PSI, it's pretty much out of his or her range to control nozzle and so forth. High-pressure system, similar to a power washer, allowed me to operate a hose with 5,000 PSI and holding the gun in one hand. And so it's allowing, though the tank holds 750 gallons of water, it's going to allow that water to fight a fire more productively. You know, as soon as we open up a nozzle, we get a large flow of water that goes out, and we run out of water fast. The high-pressure hose allows us to pinpoint it and fight fires more properly, and so that 750 gallons of water is going to go much further compared to a standard stream nozzle, you know, on the tank. So it does carry 750 gallons of water, which is very good for working situation. It has, in addition, it has a front suction system, so it does allow us to draft. It allows us to hook up the hydrants to feed other apparatuses within the area to increase pressure within the area. I put together a book for you. It has, you know, the first page that you're looking at in your book has got the dimensions of the truck. So we went a different route where every other department's going bigger, larger. We went smaller on this. And so we wanted a smaller apparatus because that's what's more need. We certainly, the other Class A pumpers that we have are essential to firefighting, but this is going to allow us to get into those places where we typically cannot. Got 1,000 feet of 5-inch supply line. That's our main water source. That's where we're getting off of our fire hydrants. It allows us, so even though it's a small truck, we can get down a long driveway, you know, and still be able to hook up to additional apparatuses or hydrant systems. 200 feet of 2-inch hose. You know, I don't know if you're interested in all the logistics of all the type of thing, but hose line is essential to every firefighter. So for my fellow firefighters sitting here, you know, they understand the importance of 200 feet of 2-inch hose, 300 feet of 1.25-inch hose, 300 feet of another 2-inch hose. We will have hard suction, so when we're in a situation where we're having difficulty with our hydrants, we can draft through means of, we can draft to lakes, ponds, streams, but more importantly, we can take it right out of a swimming pool. We got a pool house on fire, we can go right in the back and take the water right out of the pool and put out a pool house fire. So, it's a rear pump panel, so allowing us to work from behind the truck gives us more visibility. So we're able to monitor both sides of the truck, and the high-pressure system is on both sides. So that's for the placement is unique, having it in the back of the truck. It's got its ladders, so it is a Class A pumper. So it has everything essential, and will have all the tools essential for Class A firefighting skills. Have the specs, you know, in the truck that you're welcome to review, and I drop them off. And at any point in the future, if anybody has any questions, of course, you know, contact the chief. But I'm always open to any questions you may have. There is a picture of the truck in the front. I think the one comment on the specs is I think it may list it as black in terms of the color for the apparatus, but it will be white. It has a line next, so we're stepping away from the chrome because it's more easily maintained. Have a line X is kind of like a rhino liner or a plastic liner, so it keeps the truck always looking sharp and clean and neat. And it's going to have a red stripe that, if you see in the picture there, that goes down, and that red stripe is always, as every firefighter recognizes the fallen firefighters, and it represents that going across the truck as well. It also allows, you know, the visibility, creates good visibility as well. Can I ask if anyone has questions? I might be over my 3 minutes.
You're a little more than that.
You get more than 3 minutes for the board presentations.
Good presentation, guys.
Board, any questions or?
Guys, go ahead. Ask away.
I'll shoot.
Yep.
This thing sounds like it can do it all. Swiss Army knife. So that tells me that you believe that this truck can really fill a need. It's continuous, you know, you talk about being a continuous use vehicle, whatever that means. You want to elaborate on that? Does that mean that you can use it all the time? It's not specific to where it only goes out in certain things. Is that what you mean by continuous use?
It's a multi-versatile truck, so it can respond to all fire calls. So this is not, you know, this is You know, if you have a large class, large Class A fire, you know, your main tankers and Class A pumpers are going to arrive, but still, this is still providing essential support network to those equipment. But at the same point, you know, sometimes fires are, you know, they're not always fought from one side, so it allows us to go around and get behind homes, behind buildings, in alleys, and to provide mutual support. It's essential because right now we don't have an apparatus that can meet those needs. And then backs up with fire police support networks by having its lighting system in place. And it's doing the things that most of our current apparatus can't do. And some of it is on a smaller basis, if I can say.
It's smaller, like with the last truck you got, my understanding is that you went smaller too, so you're feeling smaller is the way to go.
In this particular case, yes, because flag lots limit us getting into small locations. Just parked cars. You go, somebody has a party down the street, you'd be surprised that you can't get some of these apparatuses to people's homes, and to get down. And 4x4 for winter storms, getting through snow. This is a truck that can respond anywhere.
4x4, what I saw on the spec, so is that the first one you've ever had, a 4x4?
Right, we do not have a 4x4 Class A pumper.
The brush truck's a 4x4, but this is the first 4x4.
This is all.
Just so one example we have is it has to be about 3 years back now. We had a big storm out here, and the vehicles we have right now that can get onto the beach, can get through high water situations are brush trucks, the big red trucks with the cages on them, which they're designed to go into the woods. They're designed to go through trees. They're designed to bring water to brush fires where the crew operates from the truck. So that's what we used at a full-blown structure fire during a storm. The only trucks that we could get down the road through the high water. The problem with running a brush truck as a pumper is it doesn't carry your hand tools. It doesn't carry a CBA for the firefighters in the vehicles. It doesn't carry the same hose lines and supply lines that the Class A pumpers do. As far as being a Class A pumper by definition to the NFPA, who's kind of our governing regulatory body, it is a Class A pumper on paper. It doesn't have the same amount of 5-inch supply line and hand tools and firefighter accessories that we need at a structure fire. But it has enough that if you can't get one of our Class A pumpers up a driveway, this can start doing the job while those other apparatus get there while you bring that equipment in. And while, again, with fire police, it doesn't carry the cones and the traffic control devices that we need, being able to put this at the scene, being able to light up the scene, the accident scene, the fire scene with this apparatus, and using this there frees up our fire police unit to actually go and handle traffic, the truck that has the barriers, the cones, flares, everything else that they need. So we wanted a truck that could pretty much do a little bit of everything as needed while we figure out the plan B for the rest of our main response apparatus. And then also be able to place this in different parts of the scene when we can for normal, I would say normal structure fire, normal response for us. If we can get the Class A pumper into the driveway, that's ideal. It has everything that we need in an engine, then you can put this on the hydrant and have this supply that engine. If you can't get the pumper into the driveway, then you put that on the hydrant and you send this up the driveway. This starts attacking the fire while the engine supplies this. So it complements everything else we have in a way that we haven't been able to do it before. It was a lot of challenges we threw at them. We wanted them to find that Swiss Army knife in a fire vehicle. And the things Ken listed, in addition to the compartment space that we can load this with the tools that they need to bring with them. It can stand alone if we need it to, and it complements everything else beautifully. So
I'm going to use this term. This sounds like the Amazon of fire trucks. It's got everything you want. Now I want to know if it gets an Amazon price.
So
what is the price of this vehicle?
So the price as spec'd in front of you is $505,506. The budget we asked them to stay within was $515,000, which is what we're asking for as far as the overall budget for this truck. With once it goes into development, once things go from paper to fabricated, it's still there's always a few little tweaks or things that don't look the same on paper as they do in person. So We wanted that little bit of wiggle room, but when we asked them to stay within a budget, they went out a truck that did. So that 506,506 or 505,506 is the purchase price for the vehicle.
What was, Rich, maybe you can help me out here. Does this sound about right? What was your previous purchase vehicle that you paid for in this particular type of, I guess, category is what you'd want to say?
So for the tanker, and this goes back 20, almost 25 years ago.
I think you're looking to compare it to like the last Class A pumper.
Yeah, that's what I guess. Yeah, the same category, whatever.
645,000 were the two pumpers we most recently purchased. But those were also purchased as twins, so there was a discount for purchasing two of the same truck at the same time. So these days you are looking about 750,000 for a full Class A engine. If we're just buying a new one on its own today, if I had to guess, and that's for a budget.
So fiscally, we've done good.
So to answer your question, yes, it's in line. It's in line with what the going price would be for this particular type of apparatus. And as the chief and Kenny point out, had they gone the traditional route of getting of the Class A, this is actually $200,000 to $300,000 cheaper by getting the Swiss Army knife. And one thing you brought up too, and you questioned very well, was about small is the way to go. One thing where the size are smaller, I really want to make sure everybody's clear on. It's not so much as any sacrifice of things, it's the length of it. And this actually is a shorter vehicle because of the rear mount pump in the back. That alone, by having all that machinery in the rear, contributes a lot to shortening the length of the vehicle, giving it a shorter turning radius, a wheelbase, and that's how they can maneuver. A lot of the issues are these long, winding estate driveways and our larger apparatus. I've seen it personally where the vehicles have a tough time maneuvering through these driveways just to even get to the home or wherever the fire is. So with that, they've had to cut down trees. They've had to make some alterations just to get the vehicles in. So this is a trend based on, again, our current needs, what we had with our flag lots as pointed out, a lot of our wooded areas. This will be able to traverse that. Again, four-wheel drive is a big thing. The storm thing, a lot of people, we're mentioning storms and everybody's looking outside in the winter. When's the last time we had snow? So I don't want to, don't ever take that for granted. But a lot of the storm surges, the water, that's a big thing. These guys have to use the brush truck to get in to a lot of those cases.
I see what you're saying.
This will be able to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, cost-wise, it's right on par. A couple of bucks cheaper than would have been the traditional route. And they did the homework. As I said, they were all over the place up the eastern seaboard looking at different apparatus.
It sounds like it.
And I've seen the vehicle itself. So, even I can agree that it's impressive. Kenny did a great job explaining, more than I expected, actually, exactly what it does. So anybody else, please ask away.
Trustee Polaro, Trustee Allen, any additional questions?
Where is the vehicle going to be built?
I'll let you.
South Dakota.
Okay.
Is that where the other one was?
Minnesota. Same company, but yeah, this is the factory in South Dakota. And I want to also note out too, since Trustee Pash brought up the money part of it, and it was the chief brought up. Again, this was brought up in the previous administration, so I really I implored these gentlemen to educate this board as much as humanly possible, because some of it is new. This was discussed and I will say approved in previous administrations. It is standard practice of how they're going about this. And more importantly, the funding comes from a couple sources. It comes from us, of course, and we have a relationship with our outlying Southampton district. So the important part of this, usually when any apparatus or large purchase happens, is we like to sit down, myself included as the fire commissioner, to sit with our district commissioners and make sure they're on page with it. And in the past, there have been times when they haven't been. So I'm usually very optimistic, and I'm ecstatic, actually, when I can get the district commissioners to be on the same page as us when we make a purchase, and they are. They're on board with this. They like it. I believe presentations are being given at their meeting as well, so they're, for formality reasons, and they're on board with it. And to me personally, from my experience of doing this, when that happens, I jump all over that and take advantage of that.
Okay.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, thanks.
I wanted to thank Trustee Ostremski, who is, people may not know, is the Commissioner of the Fire Department, so thank you for your hard work as well as yours. I just have a few quick questions. Do you remember what year's budget this was earmarked in by offhand?
So when we formulated the plan, and I can only speak as 3 years ago, we redid our 7-year plan, the shorter term. This truck was budgeted for what would be coming up, or this past June to this coming up June. So
The current budget cycle.
that'd be the 1920 budget year, with the ladder truck being the year previous for the budget.
And just to help educate us further, the funding, do you know what balance sheet, line items they are? It comes from a number of sources, so if you can just educate us on.
The fire department, we have 2 primary sources of funding for our operations. We do have our operational budget, which we use on an annual basis. We also have our own capital reserve accounts for both, actually for equipment, for facilities, and for apparatus. And every year there's a contribution from the village as well as the district into those accounts, so that when we do have large purchases such as apparatus, and even on an annual basis when we purchase new fire gear, turnout gear for the members, radios, pagers, more expensive items, that money is in a capital reserve account, knowing that these purchases are coming up. I believe it's a 60-40 split, with the village contributing about 60% of that, the district contributing about 40% to each of those different accounts. So when the purchase comes up, and if we look forward to, right now I can say the next 7 years, but even go further down the line for 20 years if we stick with our current replacement plan. As we plan out our 7-year replacement for the vehicles coming up, we make sure that the money is in the capital reserve accounts for those purchases, so we can avoid either having to ask for additional funds to support the purchase. We can avoid going out to bond for any kind of large capital purchases, and with minimal, if no, impact to the taxpayers and the tax in ways of a tax increase for their fire protection. So that's what we try to avoid, and thankfully in my time so far, and I think in recent years with other chiefs and other administrations, we've been able to stay within our long-term planning and even our short-term planning as we adjust it. So.
Thank you. And just last question here: how much funds are going to be left after the purchase from your capital reserve fund?
I don't have the capital reserve balance in front of me.
Any rough idea on that, Russ?
Russ, did you know?
There's $953,000 in the fire truck capital reserve.
And that's with the pending contribution for this year from the district.
Correct.
Another contribution coming in. So
yes, contribution coming in 2 weeks.
So 2 weeks. So that will bring that back up. We do have. We try to always put a gap between trucks, so it gives the reserve account time to grow between apparatus purchases. The last couple of years, the next couple of years are kind of the big years for the department as far as that replacement plan, and then that gives us, after that, quite a few years to recoup those accounts before this time period happens again for these apparatus. So
So we have a good surplus currently, and then that's going to grow in 2 weeks when the district check comes in.
Since this is the second apparatus purchase from Rosenbauer, which is the Austrian company, what are they providing as a discount or an incentive to you in any way, shape, or form?
Monetary-wise, I can't speak to any kind of exact discount or money discount from the company itself. This being the second apparatus, we've worked with them closely in the last couple of years. The process has been definitely much simpler than it was when we were trying to develop a relationship with the company. They have a better understanding of our district, our needs, the apparatus that we use, and how we use it, which was certainly instrumental in them being able to keep this within budget without any kind of extra features on the truck that you might see on this apparatus if it was somewhere else being used differently. So when they provide numbers, when they provide the specs for our vehicles, this time around it was much easier to work with them as far as being able to save money, cut things, have things end up on a truck that we didn't need. So I can't give you an exact monetary discount number, but I can definitely say it was a lot easier to put a vehicle together for our needs, having representatives from the company who knew us and had a relationship already. So.
We did review other companies and look at other things and communicate with other companies, but to be honest, there was nothing within our financial restraints, offered by other companies that could stay within the means. So Rosenbauer allowed us to customize the truck to meet all of our needs and stay within our financial constraints as well.
And if I may, gentlemen, to answer your question, Trustee Allen, about any type of assistance from them or recognition from them, one thing they do is they build the truck custom, and there are a few things with this particular truck, and I've learned that from seeing how this was done. There are things being done on this truck that they will now use and they will incorporate into a repertoire of what they will recommend to other companies going forward. And things that are on this truck they learned from the last one they built. So going forward, there may be some type of incentive or whatever, if you will, as we continue the relationship with them. So and that's what they're referencing to with the learning process of it, which is pretty interesting. And so next time, if this should happen coming around, maybe something like that will be more apparent.
Something we did get, like we mentioned briefly, that front suction on our apparatus. It's a small detail. You see it on the trucks. If you don't even notice it, it's there. It allows the vehicle to draft or take in water from the front bumper. When we originally went to them for this vehicle, we asked for that front suction. It's on all of our other current pumping apparatus. We do use it. We almost actually had a large golf clubhouse fire that we had one of our Class A engines nose deep into the bay, pouring water out. So when we first went to them asking them for the front suction on this vehicle, they told us they couldn't do it, and no. And came back not too far after that, saying they sat down with engineers, and they've never done it, but they will do it. And as Commissioner Yashemsky said, they will add that now to the future when somebody asks for this vehicle. Yes, we can do that. It is doable.
Would this truck have been able to get through the gates?
This truck would have been able to get through the gates. And that's so that
yes.
When I mentioned certain features on this truck that we've learned from recent incidents, the high water being a structure fire with the high water, but also at that specific fire, we couldn't get those apparatus through those gates. We actually used one of our trucks to go across the grass through a hedge, across one of our poles, and back to the road. So they added the push bumper for this in case they had to do that. They had the ability, but this truck would have fit.
Push bumper designed on the front of it also protects that front intake as well. And if you looked on like one of the last pages in your book, it's kind of like a custom designed bumper for the front intake to protect it. So if we're going through hedges and things like that, we're not damaging a truck. And then we're ready to pump, we're in trouble. So it's kind of a good protection system as well.
Not that we plan on going through people's hedges if we can avoid it.
It's not the goal.
Not our goal here.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members?
Thank you very much. How would you like to proceed?
Again, if everybody is comfortable with the presentation, with no reservations, I would like to send these gentlemen on their way to start the process of bidding and then purchasing on this particular vehicle. And I'd like to propose that to, tonight.
Is there a resolution for that?
Well, I can make a resolution, so that's...
The only question I would have is, I'd like to set a capital budget for this, and one of the things that they're going to be talking about next are some capital purchases for the vehicle that just came in a couple of months ago, and I'd like to sit down with them and talk about what add-ons they're going to need, how much hose, how much... I'd like to adopt a capital budget that's inclusive of not just the truck, but the hoses, the apparatus that's going to be on there, and then come back so that we're not doing these $6,000 little capital purchases one at a time. So I thought maybe in the next 2 weeks, if it's the board's pleasure, and we could adopt a capital a budget for the purchase of this truck in an amount that would include all of that.
Yeah. Would you like to move on into the next section, or should we?
That 515 does include what we learned from recent past with that vehicle. So we can certainly sit down and...
It's whatever the board's comfortable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If not, then if you want to gather a little more data and then approve it for next meeting as far as that?
It's 12 days.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's whatever.
That's fine. No, I see
I'll
a couple
move either way.
No, but I see a couple of looks from board members, and that's fine as long as that's okay with you guys, so.
You don't have to come back.
You know,
Ken would love to.
and you come back during the presentation, you covered all the points, but,
I think, you know, we've included, you know, within the purchase price, we included mounting of tools, some purchasing of tools, lettering and things like that. I think we're pretty close. Yeah, the hose and so forth, and we have a supply of hose as well on hand. So I don't foresee any, you know, additional funds that are gonna be above and beyond, you know, that, so, if
That
we
was-
kept the safety range, I mean, we're at 506, if we kept the safety range, it'd be $515,000, $520,000 if we want to get that protected. I can't see any particular reason why we'd ever have to go above and beyond that.
I can speak to the
Safety.
difference with what you're also mentioning is, this is almost a, current Unit 3016, though it is a tanker, is also a pumper. It has a pump and hose lines on it. So one of the things with what you brought up was we replaced a truck that didn't have any hose lines, supply hose, those tools with the vehicle that now has them. So there shouldn't be that kind of.
So this basically is all put together.
That 515, I'd be very comfortable saying is our safety net if needed.
Ken, you feel pretty confident right now?
Yes, I do.
Where you're at with 506 is pretty much a spot on with maybe a teeny bit, possibly?
Yeah, so, but, you know, like Chief said, you know, for hose and things like that, maybe some fittings and connections, things like that, it doesn't come with it, so, you know, we can capture them. So if you said 515, you know, that's gonna allow us to just, in terms of equipment-wise, pick up connections and things like that.
I'm comfortable with that. Again, I want to make sure you guys are comfortable, because again, I'm well-versed in this, and I've been along the process, and I understand anybody up here who hasn't, and I don't mean to run roughshod over that by any means at all. So I don't presume my comfort level to be the same as others. But these gentlemen have done their homework. It is a good apparatus. If there's a little wiggle room number, if you want to throw a higher number in there, perhaps 515, 520 or something, if that's, you know, if that's what Russell's implying. But again, I want to make sure you guys are comfortable. I mean, quite honestly, yes, I'd like to send these guys on their way to start this process, because, once again, because the construction this takes about almost a year to do, you know, because it's built from scratch. So, so I'd be, you know, whatever the board wants to do here as far as sending them along the way, I'm open to it.
Plus, some of our quotes are from 2019, so we want to get Imway Rosenbauer hold on to that quote.
Well, I think that's where they'll be good.
So we're holding on to those
To
quotes.
Trustee Allen's point, I think they will be good with us, because we're going back to
Yes.
them again in a very short amount of time for another apparatus.
I will mention that we do have Fred Pearsall from Rosenbauer from
Yes.
Eagle, who's their rep for both vehicles now. If you do have any questions for the manufacturer for the.
I don't know, I think you guys learned everything, but.
Full of knowledge.
But again, yes, based on, you know, the boards, I would like to send, you know, proceed with it, make a resolution to send them along to purchase. What do all you think?
I'm going to be the outlier. I like to look at it a little bit more. It's the first I'm hearing about it. Obviously, I think very highly about Rosenbauer. I see, you know, we voted for the other one.
Right.
We understand the world is different. We understand the agility, but I like to look at the numbers. But, you know, I'm outvoted here, so you're welcome to go ahead. I'd like to wait 2 weeks.
You're one of several, so that's what this is about. There's no issue with that.
And it's my job is, you know, listen to commissioner, listen to the department. You know, you guys have done a lot of hard work on this, so, you know, our job is to listen to you guys and then to take guidance from you and then make educated decisions. So it really, you know, I'm fine either way. Rich, if you want to move forward with the resolution, I'll happily support it. But if we want to give Trustee Allen, you know, an extra, you know, 12 days to do a little more research, I'm also comfortable with that. I think your diligence is also important. So, you know, I think hopefully the price won't change in 12 days, but price of raw materials is going up.
Promise, don't beat me up.
Maybe it'll go down.
So we got 2 weeks, we got another influx of cash coming in.
Right, but we haven't looked at our overall budget. I
Well,
mean,
this
you know, we
doesn't,
have.
this
doesn't affect our overall
I know,
budget.
But it
this-
does,
no,
it's 60/40.
No, but this is a standalone.
I know it's a set aside, but the maintenance and the servicing of this falls in our overall budget. This is the equipment, the operational day-to-day, that falls in your operational budget. That's
It would
what
be
I'm trying
the
to
day-to-day
understand.
for the vehicle.
That's the only piece I want to understand.
You know, which,
And it may be less than what you have, that's all. I just have those questions.
you know,
It's fair.
A little more different than what
Listen, I could go,
current
like I said,
apparatus, but-
either way. Would you guys mind 12 days if we decide to go that route, or is it gonna?
If that make everybody comfortable, I mean,
I'm not sure what I'd want to accommodate you in every way possible and be grateful. I'm just not sure whether you just need time, or is there something that you need us to look into over 12 days? Or is it just that you want time to review things?
I would want
Clarify
time
what
to
you're asking.
review, so we have this new truck. We know the equipment is a capital expenditure, but there are expenditures involved in servicing this truck on an ongoing basis. And how does that compare to the previous pumper we have? Maybe it's lower, maybe it's higher, and that affects our overall budget. So if you know those answers tonight.
I know, and that's if we want to put this to the next board meeting over the next 12 days, if there's anything we can do to
Are we
help.
going to be able to
provide some
ascertain that
information.
in the next 12 days?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, is it even ascertainable now as far as something that's on paper?
As far as the day-to-day expenses of this, we don't have a comparable vehicle.
Is that something
It's
you might be able to shed light on?
Sorry,
Is that something you could shed light on?
I missed
The day-to-day expenditures.
Operational costs?
of the vehicle.
Maintenance will be covered by warranties, obviously, for the couple of years that you have the truck. So, and the service center is right here, and we're moving to Deer Park very soon. We got a new building there.
You gotta stand up, please.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we gotta get you. No, over here.
No, just come over
Yeah, there you
to
go.
the microphone and they can record you.
Yeah. Just
Anyway,
state your name though,
going back
please.
to
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Fred Pearsall. I'm a sales representative for Rosenbauer through the Eagle Emergency dealership here on Long Island. Been doing this for a few years, you might say. Servicing with our trucks, like I said, we have warranties. We'll take care of the truck for the first couple of years. One of the nice things about our product is our company as a whole worldwide is the largest manufacturer of fire apparatus. On a normal basis, when we go after a particular truck, as far as bidding process, we build a quality truck and we don't gouge our customers for that truck. So you get a truck that's non-proprietary, where if you have stuff in the engine, stuff that we didn't build, like a hose on the engine or something, can be replaced by going locally to get it replaced, puts that truck in service that much sooner. Some of the way we build our truck was we want the mechanics to have those trucks back as soon as possible. Some other manufacturers put their names on it, make the hose a little longer, so you can't buy stuff off the shelf. You have to buy it from them, your price goes up. We don't do that. We're not a parts company. We can give you any part overnight at any time. But we like to sell fire trucks and not parts. And I can say our trucks are pretty reliable. Bayshore's running 4 of them right now, and other than minor little switches, whatever, they've had great success. Lindenhurst just put 2 in service. You guys are very close to getting yours in service. It's a great company. I enjoy working for it, and servicing will back you up all the way. It's what we do. We don't want anybody mad at us. We like to do it the right way. And as far as money, like I said, we go easy on our customers. We build a great truck, and we don't charge an arm and a leg for it. We just ask for decent living, nothing too extravagant. I haven't bought any kind of yacht or anything like that yet. In fact, I'm still lucky I can get gas, but so we're not out looking. We look for our customers, and that's what we're here for.
And the typical warranty that you offer is?
I got to check with, this is going to have a commercial chassis on it. It's different than a Rosenbauer chassis, so if it was a Rosenbauer, it'd be straight through, but we're going to take care of this vehicle no matter what's the problem. If it's a Freightliner thing, it'll still be taken care of by Freightliner or by us, but there'll be none of this going on. We don't do that. Case in point, a truck that was delivered down south had a problem, started making noise about a year of service. Long story short is the CEO of our company had the truck after the chassis company that provided the chassis, wasn't us, said that it wasn't their problem, whatever the noise was. He had it flatbedded up to the shop. They worked on it, him and his mechanic, his top mechanic in the shop. And they found what the problem was, called the chief, come on up, get your truck, there's 2 tickets at the airline counter for you. Came up, took them out on a ride, made sure the noise wasn't there, and long story short is they didn't have to pay a thing. The chief brought his wallet up thinking he was going to have to write a check, and it was beyond warranty, but the company said, no, we're not taking any money from you. So it's the kind of company it is. It's still a mom and pop company here. And as you say, Rosenbauer is a worldwide company, but Rosenbauer America is solely owned by us here. So we're just under the guide of Rosenbauer. And that's what made the companies, three individual companies back in the 80s. And when Rosenbauer came in and they all talked, and now it's a Rosenbauer company and everybody's happy. The original CEOs of their companies are still working there. And it's a good place to work.
So the warranty, and thank you, that's very helpful. This is why I didn't want to bore everybody here, because these are the questions I ask. The warranty applies to, even though it's a chassis that's a different company, and the body and the rest of it, the warranty applies to both, is what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't know how-
Engine warranty,
Okay.
transmission, the whole bit. We don't want to leave you out. And we also offer down the line, when the warranties are up, an additional service where you can pick it a la carte. When you want to warranty, say you want to warranty the engine and the pump by itself, you can do that. Or you want to do the main things and not the other stuff, you can do that. So 5 year, I think I got a 5 year, 10-year paint warranty on it. I got to look. I do so many of these things I can't remember. But our like prorated stuff, we don't do that unless you want it prorated because it's a little cheaper in the long run. But we know companies that if it happened at the fourth a year and the very last day of the year, that they wouldn't obligate it because obviously it's prorated. And now you got hours will last right to the fifth year, right to the mark. So it's about it. I hope I made some sense out of this. I'm not good at this public speaking, you might say.
You did well.
Yes, thank
And
you.
I'll give you guys my business cards. If you're having questions, you can always call.
I can say, not having exact numbers, the current Unit 36 is also a commercial truck. It's a Ford 650. It's a Ford.
You don't have
It's a
to talk
Ford
anymore.
commercial vehicle.
You're fine. You're fine. She already said
Are we getting money for the other bumper?
So the current 36, after the sit down with the district, right now the idea is to hold on to it for a little while. We don't know what we could get for it. It's a very old truck, and we don't know what kind of condition the pump is in. So right now, I said we do have that one street left in the district on our side without hydrants, which at this rate shouldn't last much longer. So
We could, in the meeting with the district commissioners, we could, yes, it could always be sold and get something or donated, what have you. But then a discussion from one of the people in the meeting brought up with our recent Bridgehampton fires, again, who don't have hydrant services. So then, so that's, to be honest, the district and we discussed it, and the chiefs agreed that could be something that could go either way, depending on the need. We could sell and get some money for it, or hold on for the time being for those until more hydrants are available in certain mutual aid situations. But nobody was averse to getting rid of it if need be. But also part of the discussion was that wouldn't deter the decision to move forward with this one at the table at the time. I want to introduce you to Dave and Brian.
I know you did a lot of research, again.
No, I appreciate your and I said, and I told these gentlemen that there are new faces and new ears here, but I'm confident in sending them forward. I'm glad you asked these questions, and we said hopefully you're a little at least more at ease than if the two gentlemen at the end are comfortable with sending these guys forward. I have no problem making a resolution for them to go ahead with starting this process. I got two nods. Andrew is...
We spoke earlier today.
Yeah, so and I thank you, Mayor. I appreciate your input on that. He asked the questions. He had the same apprehensions you did, as a matter of fact. So you both, Andrew. All right, so let's do this.
We're going to entertain a motion. We're going to label this as Resolution 16. We're going to take it out of order. Resolve that the Board of Trustees hereby establishes a capital budget for the purchase of a Rosenbauer America multi-versatile MIDI pumper?
Mid-size.
Mid-size pumper?
So mini, that's what it says here.
Yes, Swiss Army knife.
The Swiss
At a budget, at the budget of $515,000 from capital reserve fire trucks, subject to permissive referendum. Is there a motion?
I would like to make that motion, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Yastrzemski.
Aye.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Parrish.
Aye.
Trustee Polero.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. With that said, though, we do have a second board presentation, but it probably could be on the quicker side, considering we need spotlights, nozzles, hose valves, and for the new ladder truck for $6,036.38. So we can probably make that resolution as well.
I just, as a chairman of the committee, just to personally thank you on behalf of the entire fire department and your volunteer firefighters. We're here to serve the village and do everything we can, and we appreciate you giving us the proper tools to do so. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work on this stuff.
Thank you.
And thank you, board members.
That was the easy part.
Do you need to, does the board need to hear?
I think we're good on the...
Okay, there's a resolution in the packet, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
And thank you, board members. I appreciate that. I know it's
Thanks for your input, guys.
new stuff. Thank you.
And as we all know, these are we work with volunteer firefighters, so they are doing this on a complete volunteer basis. So we should also regularrly thank our departments for their volunteerism to the village. We're all public servants. We serve the public in different ways, and we really appreciate all that you've done and all your help for everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, so
Volunteer firefighter too.
I'm
different uniforms today.
All the things you were saying. Craziness. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
all right, so we're looking forward to our third board presentation, which is the Star Aquatic Center. Josephine came all the way here from Florida today to present this, so thank you.
You got people traveling far for it.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Josephine DiVincenzi, and I don't think
You don't need to touch it.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's only recording you.
And I'm known as Dr. D to many families in Southampton because I served as an educator here for 25 years. Now I am retired and still at it in trying to follow up on things that I began. I'm currently serving as president of the Southampton Town Aquatics and Recreation Corp., a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to enhance the overall wellness and level of water safety on the east end of Long Island by providing an aquatic recreation, education, competition, and therapeutic center through a building and operating of this facility and making it affordable to all and financially sustainable. To that end, we've been working for many years to build an indoor facility for our community. We plan to include within it a 25-yard competition pool, a warm water aquatic class/recreation pool, and a fitness center. We have been listening. We've been meeting around the town, and we've been trying to respond to comments from community members. We've reduced the overall design of the plan from 3 pools to 2, along with several other modifications that have reduced the overall construction costs from approximately $20 million to $15 million. This is more realistic, and we actually, with these changes, could have a pool that could be operating in the black within 3 years. Over a year ago, the Southampton Town Board approved our plans and dedicated 2 acres of land at Red Creek Park in Hampton Bays for the project. This past November, when we met with the town supervisor to give him a progress report, he and the deputy encouraged us to look at other potential parcels. Although they were pleased with the traction that we had made, they thought maybe given some thought to other parcels might bring about more attention and support for the project. In the past year, and actually in the past 3 years, we've completed multiple feasibility studies. We've developed a comprehensive brochure, which the board has. We have revamped our website. And most importantly, in November of this year, we went all in. We decided that in order for this to become a reality, we needed to hire an executive director to take this on as a full-time job, to run down every possible potential lead from individual donors, philanthropic organizations, and foundations. Kim Folks is with us tonight. She's our executive director. Her main task is fundraising and creating the organizational infrastructure to make our vision a reality. Working with Kim, who's a native and lifelong professional in the East End, we have the tireless efforts of our dedicated board members. A number of them are here tonight. And that has been coupled with the expertise that we've received from our consultants, Sports Facility Advisory, that are a group of people who build sports facilities. They've done it with community members like ours in 46 states and a few foreign nations. So their expertise, coupled with a consulting firm called Councilman Hunziker, who actually helped Suffolk Community College. Councilman was an Olympian and Hunziker was his coach, and they are the leading design firm in the world on aquatic facilities. So all of these people have come together to help us get the best possible plan to bring to you tonight. With the recent opening of the Suffolk Community College pool in the western part of the town, the supervisor suggested we might look at a few parcels here. We followed up on the supervisor's suggestion. We've met with some board members, some village officials, to discuss the possible alternative locations. Their enthusiasm for the project is the reason we're here tonight. Great communities deserve great facilities, and STAR is determined to accomplish our mission of building an aquatic community wellness center for the town of Southampton's residents. With a population of nearly 70,000 people, it's incomprehensible that we do not have not one public indoor pool, especially considering that we're surrounded by water, bays and oceans. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Well, we've done our due diligence, and we are here to assure you that we have right-sized the pool. We have the potential support programs that we believe will make it feasible financially to keep going forward. Building such a facility would meet the needs of the year-round activities that our kids and our adults, myself included, don't have in winter and during the school year. We truly see this as a community hub for children, for lifeguards, emergency response trainees, senior citizens, special needs children, and triathletes who are trying to achieve really incredible goals for themselves. It will increase not only the overall physical health of residents, but also the economic health of the town. We've completed an economic impact statement and study that shows that this facility would bring approximately 44 full-time equivalent positions to the town, most of them being lifeguards, but 44 full-time equivalent positions. $1 to $2 million in funds that would come from people, non-local visitors that would come to the facility during special events or birthday parties or for swim competitions and activities, plus millions more that would be brought to the local economy for a short period of time during the facility's construction. Property values would go up, would serve as a positive impact for families this could be a magnet for families with young children who want to come to a place where we have facilities like this, and active adults who would choose to settle here to be in proximity to such a facility. We can no longer afford to wait. Drowning is the leading cause of death, injury-related deaths, I should say, in children. And remarkably, in 2017, in this country, we lost almost 1,000 children. In 2017. The drowning of 2 of my former students was the reason I was asked to be on this board, and that I agreed to do that. And I remain committed until this is done. Together, we can not only save lives, we can make lives. As the lifeguards and some of the programs that, if you haven't seen the film Waterproofing, it will be shown soon, about the culture, the swim culture that was created in East Hampton because of the Y that was built there 20 years ago. We know the research shows that kids who have active starts to their lives become active adults, and when and if they have children, their children are more active. So this positive cycle will continue through the years. We know that kids who get this training will have increased opportunities, not just for lifeguard employment, which can go on throughout their lives, but also increases chances for college admissions and scholarships. Oh, and did I mention that swimming and the instruction of swimming helps people enjoy being in and around the water? It's absolutely a must for a community like ours. We hope the Village Board will share our enthusiasm, as this has been a long time coming, and the need is still great. If you do, we hope that you would help us by dedicating 2 acres of land somewhere in this village where you feel the needs would be best met. We're happy to come back with our consultants and work with you on that, go through the numbers that are in our brochure, which have been updated just in the last 6 months based on the conversations that we've been having in the community. Please visit our website. It was up a few minutes ago. It's staraquacenter.com. For more information about the facility, join our mailing list, learn how you can get involved, and consider making a donation online. Our contact information is attached to the brochures that we provided. We're happy to take that call anytime, night or day. Thanks for having us this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I think this would be a real dream to have an aquatic center in the village of Southampton for all the reasons that you specified. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Can I just ask a couple of quick, if I may, sorry.
Please, go for it.
To delay the meeting. And it is great. I remember when you presented the concept some years ago. I was on the board when you were looking to bring this out. So you've come a long way. So I just may ask a few questions to, when you started and how you got where, and then similar questions. And you mentioned you discussed with the supervisor in Southampton, who was a supervisor when they brought out the center in East Hampton. And we discussed it back then. The issues then were the money, and that's why the YMCA was ultimately brought in to then maintain it, because the town couldn't maintain it. So, and then part of the conversation was to have the swim center on this side of the canal, and it was recommended by the board at that time, on the town, to want it to be on the other side. So one thing I'm wondering how it went from going on the west side of the canal to the east side. I'm curious to know how that did change, and that's fine. I'm happy to be the beneficiary of that. To what were you looking for the town to do? Is it just the land you need? Is it any municipal involvement for upkeep, money, so forth? I know that can be answered now.
Well, as I said earlier, the reason that we could consider now the potential of moving it a few miles further east is because of the opening of Suffolk Community College, which has taken a little bit of the pressure off of trying to service the far western part of the town. And that was why the supervisor, I think, initially raised that as a reason why it would be okay. We haven't said no to the land at Red Creek Park. Let me be clear. We're looking to see if this potential move could invigorate some interest in getting the support that we need for the fundraising that is essential to get this from concept to concrete. So
how are we doing with the fundraising? Because that's always a large issue with anything.
Just this past November was when we hired a fundraiser full-time. And the board made the decision that, the previous 20 years since we've been trying to work this through, we've really been waiting for somebody to come along and say, here we have this money that was raised many years ago that we didn't use a cent of for 20 years. And we have been waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right donation. Well, you know what? I could run a school, but I don't know how to run a pool. So that's why we brought in the consultants that we did. And as it relates to fundraising, we're a group of workaday, real people who lived and worked out here all our lives. And our connections to philanthropic organizations and major donors was limited. And therefore, the decision to get a full-time fundraiser and executive director to pull all the strands together and pursue every possible lead is what we did in November that we hope will bear fruit this year.
Yeah, I can see the list of, right, which is where you get money, health systems, schools,
Right.
grants, donors.
Well, the town makes a significant donation to the running of SYS. We have been assured that the town would give a comparable donation to us as well. And that coupled with businesses, SYS is a perfect exemplar of a group of people, local people who got together and then put all the pieces together, and local businesses have supported that. We believe that kind of private-public partnership is doable, and they've proven it. It can be done in this town. It will be done.
So are you hoping then that municipal funds will help to build the project, because that then goes
No.
out? So it's all private funds that you will do. So the 15 costs that you are talking about will come from private funds outside that Kim is hoping to raise.
That's correct.
Okay, good.
What we're
And-
talking about is perhaps the operating expense, assisting with that, which is what SYS manages and what
They
we would
receive
hope.
$50,000 a year from the town of Southampton.
In
for that.
Southampton, and we know in East Hampton, the town there gives over 500,000, almost closer to 6. So, it depends on the commitment. They support free membership for any child under 19. We would hope a similar thing would be done for the children of this school district.
And the operating costs, have you looked at that?
Oh, we have.
To see how it is? So, is your 15 million just in-ground cost?
That's correct.
So what is it, would you hope to, I'm hoping you would hope to raise more so that you can kind of have a few years of operating so that you don't have an unfortunate situation like happened at Y.
Yeah, it's our intention to keep building until we have an endowment fund that would cover operating expenses for at least 2 years. Yeah. And the good news, as we've modified the project, our consultants have been running those numbers again, removing what was an aquatherapy pool, which would have cost approximately $5 million more to run, which we needed a healthcare partner for. And we have pursued both hospitals and get very close. But as you know, Southampton Hospital has other goals right now. They didn't say no, they just said maybe down the road. We're hoping that we might be able to convince them that as they build their new facility, that would be the perfect location to put the aquatherapy pool on that facility.
And so the cost has come down from 20 to 15 because of the aquatherapy pool. In the years that you've been looking to do this,
Yes.
what has the increase in cost been?
Well, again, we've been projecting numbers for bigger pools. So part of the decline in numbers has come with the reality of trying to build a pool that we can sustain. So the initial thinking was maybe we would build this very unique, grand 50-meter pool. And while we would love it, and most 50-meter pools are subdivided by moving walls that would allow for 2 events to go on at the same time. The reality is when we did a second feasibility study, we were told unequivocally it's not supportable in this particular locale. The only 50-meter pool is the one that was built for the games at Eisenhower Park, the Goodwill Games, many years ago. And people there access the city, so it's a double reason why people and teams go there. Here in the winter, it wouldn't be so big a draw. So we know right now from the second group, because when we looked at those numbers, we said, we don't think that we're going to make a profit on a 50-meter pool. And we were shown that a 50-meter pool, the operating expenses over 5 years would so dramatically increase it that you were talking about millions more.
And probably need a lot more land as well, too, for
You would.
the 50 then.
Right now, we believe that we were talking about a 43,000 square foot building initially, and we're now probably in the 27,000 range. And Russell's been great, along with Gary Gillespie, and they've been looking at some of the potential sites for this. And we're trying to, right now, look at the maximum size footprint, or the minimum, I should say, that we could get to put this on, because a natatorium is a 2-level building, and we would put the locker rooms and lobbies and fitness areas over the other halves, so that we could hopefully reduce and shrink the footprint. As for the design, what you see there was a concept. It's not set in stone. It would be, we hope to even do a design contest and see if we could get engagement of architects in this plan.
Thank you very much.
So if you, in fact, feel that this is something that you will get excited about, as we have been, we look forward to trying to figure out with you where that best location would be.
Dr. D, I know we spoke about this, and I think it's fantastic. Like you pointed to before, we're surrounded by water. It's very important. A couple of the other community members got up and expressed how it's sometimes surprising that there's a lot of people that can't swim. I sort of look at this as one of the most important things you can do in your life is learn how to swim. So I would love to see this move forward. It would be an unbelievable thing for Southampton Village. I know SYS has been, and the impact it's had at times when they have tournaments and things like that for the downtown has been a positive. I would love to see a footprint.
Great.
I think if you can get us a footprint, that would really help us sort of be able to look at some of the spaces that we have and say, can this be done? And then from there, we can start opening up possibilities.
We're on it. Right now, it's looking closer to 160 by like 165.
Mm-hmm.
That is the tentative number.
That would be 2 stories, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So 2 acres, you said you're looking for.
2 acres, considering parking too. In 43,560 square feet in an acre, right? It's under an acre, the building itself,
Yeah.
but the landscaping and walkways and other things. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate your time and effort. Moving through our agenda, we now have discussion items. The first discussion item is the Real Aid Relay Walk for EJ Autism Foundation. Julie, do you have...
I do. So this is an annual walk. It actually only involves about 3 people. It is one team. It is a relay, but they come to Southampton on Sunday, May 17th. They start at Golden Pear, and it's a 3-mile walk from here to Watermill. They give between $2,500 and $5,000 to Flying Point Autism Foundation each year. I spoke with Kim Covell, who is the head of that foundation, and she said, please say yes to this because it is a great impact for them, with no impact for the village because it's only 3 people. So it's a pretty small group.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
And we've done it every year.
Yeah, that's a good say.
Done it every year.
Would like to take any next steps?
Move on.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a resolution in the packet if
Okay,
no one
good.
has a
All
problem.
right. The next discussion item is the Firecracker 8K Southampton Rotary,
Okay, so
July
this-
5th.
This is also an annual event. It will be Sunday, July 5th this year. Again, the Rotary has done this every year. We've never had any issues with it, other than it's been very, very positive. All the information is in your pack. They have not changed the route for several years. I don't believe the chief has ever had any concerns or issues? No? Okay. All good? Okay. So again, it's an annual event, raises great money for the Rotary, and again, they're asking for our support and approval to go forth. And I think there's a resolution in that.
There's a resolution as well.
Resolution in the back.
There's also a resolution for that.
Thank you. The next is the property tax cap override, local law. Russ, I'll let you take this one.
Each year, municipalities are under the governance of a New York State 2% tax cap. Each municipality does have the right on a 60% vote of its governing body to exceed that tax cap if they need to. It is and to do so, you must adopt a local law. To adopt a local law, you have to have a public hearing. It is a safeguard that is done. I don't know of any municipalities that don't do it. It is actually recommended by the GFOA and other accounting practices throughout the state. Recommend that municipalities do so because as you're developing a budget, things can happen, or you can have some event or make some decision that you want to go over the tax cap, and unless you have a public hearing and adopt a local law, you're not permitted to do so. Once you adopt your budget and it's below the tax cap, you do not need to have a public hearing to remove the local law. You just have to do it by resolution. So it's kind of a belts and suspenders, cover yourself in the event that there is something that happens within your budget cycle that you need to adopt the budget above the prescribed tax cap.
Thus far, we have never done that.
We've never done that. As a matter of fact, last year, we didn't even use the full amount of tax cap that we would have been permitted to use.
We can pass a resolution later. My position actually does contrast a little bit with maybe what some other villages have done. We do not want to raise our taxes here. We do not want to pierce our tax cap. And while this simply gives us the option, personally, I don't want to give us the option because I don't want to pierce the tax cap. I would also add I am optimistic about, appointing a village attorney this evening or after executive session. So that could be something that we could do once we can get a village attorney to advise us on this. But ultimately, I don't think it would be fair to our taxpayers to pierce the tax cap because, of course, we don't want to raise taxes. Of course, it's a board decision, so we could obviously pass the resolution without my support. But ultimately, I don't want to really give us that option to raise taxes more than 2%. Yeah, please.
This is not us raising taxes or us doing. All this is allowing us to do is if something comes up in the budget where we have to, this gives us the ability to pierce if we need to. We don't want to. We're not saying by passing this that we will do it. It's just that we have the ability to do it if something goes wrong. So it's not saying that we must do it or have done it. I believe we have passed this in the past. Trustee Strumsky and Trustee Allen, we have passed it. We have passed it. We have never pierced the tax cap. It just allows us to have the ability to do it in case there is an unforeseen event that comes along which hinders our revenue drastically, I would say, is the safeguard that we're looking for. Isn't that correct, Alexandra?
Yep. I'm not going to opine on this because I do really feel that it would be in the purview of a village attorney to answer it. So
If I may give one example. So an example in which you might have to pierce the tax cap is one in which we have some major storm in March or April, a nor'easter, okay, that wipes out Cooper's Beach. Cooper's Beach brings in $1 million a year that is an offset to our budget. If we know that we would not be able to open Cooper's Beach this year, and we know that prior to the adoption of a budget, this board, I do not believe with our contractual obligations, would be able to adopt the budget, no matter what you tried to do, that wouldn't pierce the tax cap. So it's those types of situations. It's recommended by, our external auditors would recommend. It's a recommended thing to do. It's prudent to do. It's fiscally sound to do. The only issue with waiting is that there is a time frame. We would have to have the public hearing and adopt it on the first meeting in March. If we wait until the next meeting to do this, I don't know if there's enough time to post for a public hearing for a local law in time for the March 9th meeting. But it is.
Again, this is a board decision. As we know, we just need a majority of the board, so everyone is entitled to their one vote. So I obviously understand your perspective here, but obviously it'd be better if we had a village attorney, if we had a treasurer, and at the same time, if do we even want to have us allow that option? We have a capital reserve fund as well. So again, we can. I'm happy if someone wants to make that resolution later. It's fine, no problem by me.
May I just say you cannot use capital reserve funds for your operating expenses.
Okay, we appreciate it. We'll consult with council, and board can do what they would like. So I'll get the next. Is there any other comments here?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this yet, because in the event of a disaster, we are sitting there with the possibility of putting our village in jeopardy, from what my understanding is. And again, I want to be fiscally responsible like you, Jesse. It's very important that we stay under the budget and do better. But in the event of a natural disaster or some other thing that happens, and we are sitting there looking at each other going, gosh, we can't do anything about this, I think that would be a disservice to our residents. We can't clean up certain things. It's one of those things as trying to be fiscally responsible is you need to be fiscally responsible in the event of a catastrophe too. And so if we are, that's what I keep on going back to, what if, and if we are prepared for that. You can't predict that you can prepare. So Rich, you've sat this for 12 years. Has this ever been brought up? Have you always felt that this was a good, is it a protection? Is really what it is? It's like insurance?
It's usually been a perfunctory type of thing. It was recommended. When they first came out, Steve Funch was sitting at the time, and the auditors recommended that as a fail-safe method. In the event, not so much to use it. I think there's only one municipality that's done it on Long Island, or school district. But as pointed out, in a catastrophic situation, if you don't put it in place, then you could have potential problems. It was always my understanding behind it. So that's why, I never.
And that was a recommendation of professionals, auditors.
Correct. That's why, quite honestly, I understand the situations the mayor bringing up and questions, because there's a lot of questions and things in flux here. But this in particular, just because out of experience that I've done over 12 years or 11, it's been a pretty basic thing.
So you're not averse to it?
I'm not averse to it, no.
It's nothing wrong. Many villages do this.
Right.
I'm just saying, I'd rather in our budget, allocate emergency funds. I'd rather not max out our budget to the point where if we do get into a problem, we now have to pierce our tax cap. And again,
what would be the max funds?
My goal number one is we need a village attorney to look at this. We are currently absent of a village attorney. We all know that. I've been trying to appoint a village attorney for 6 months now. And so it's up to our board to make sure that we have a village attorney.
But that's irrelevant at this point.
No, because
this is what, please
go for it.
Thank you. We're not talking about a village attorney right now. We do have an assistant village attorney, which is probably versed in some of this. And what I do want to know is that at the end of the day, if we as elected officials need to make decisions about what is best for our community. And for me, thinking about this is one of those decisions. And I believe, based on 11 years experience, 3 years experience, 20-plus years experience, that there has been a past practice, and it has been recommended by auditors that I just couldn't see. This is a safety net, buying insurance for your building. To me, that's what I'm looking at. You would buy insurance for your business, sorry, not your building, but your business. You would do that because it is a safeguard for this. This is a safeguard. There's no reason why we would go through it. I don't see anything. But if we do get caught with our pants down and if something comes up, gosh, I would hate to have to explain to someone, we were trying to be fiscally responsible, but now we're not.
Well, you can actually still do both, as the mayor wants to build up a reserve, a rainy day fund, or emergency fund. You can,
But what
you can
would
still
that
do
fund
that.
be?
Well, I don't know, but that can still
Millions,
be done.
tens of millions?
But not in the place of. You still do this, and you can still
Right.
look into doing it.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's nothing precluding one from the other. In my opinion.
So you can go, cite a certain emergency. Again, you can, obviously vote. I'm just explaining my rationale here. But as I'd like to point out again, we do need a village attorney to advise us on this and all future laws. We are currently absent of a treasurer, which is a state mandated position. We really need to be looking at the budget. Have you looked at the budget yet?
I have not, and I'm really looking forward to it. But that's why I don't want to get involved with, not doing something, knowing that, we don't have enough in our budget to cover something that does happen. So I think as a safeguard, this is important. And as far as the village attorney goes, I think we need to be clear that we are this close away from doing it. What we did ask you for, 6 months ago, you did ask. You brought up one person. We asked you as a board of trustees to let us talk to you more because we are working together as a board. You finally agreed 2 or 3 months later. Actually, we did hire an assistant. Then you fired our attorney. Then we went through the process of saying, we'd like to interview more people. Please let us do that, and we will come to you with the people that we believe could be beneficial for this village. And we gave you that 2 weeks ago. And you now came up and put someone forward, and we asked you, fiscally responsible, can you please give us some numbers? You gave us an hourly rate. We wanted to know, going from a previous 30 years of having a salary-based one to now going to an hourly, which to your point is a standard thing. However, for me being fiscally responsible, I want my taxpayers to know in a budget what they can expect, because we do have things in the pipeline that we need to address. And speaking with this potential attorney, he agreed that it would be, or she agreed that it would be best to let that happen within the village. So to me, I think that we are here. We just want some numbers, and that's the responsibility of the mayor to get us those numbers. So I don't like the fact that we're sitting here and you're blaming us, because we did ask you numerous times to allow this board to be involved in it. And you finally did, and we appreciate that. And we came back to you with homework. Andrew gave you 4 people, pros and cons of everybody that we thought we could do this with. So let's move on from that roadblock, and let's do the work, because that's important here, Jesse. And I know you want to do the work. I want to do the work. Andrew does. Kimberly does. And Rich does. Let's do it.
That's right. We have work to be done, and that work does require a village attorney.
Yes, it
does require a clerk. It does require a treasurer. And I appreciate how you'd like to be fiscally responsible. But to me, fiscally responsible means looking at the budget and not piercing the tax cap. So it's a bit of irony here. So again, we can move forward because
it's a safeguard.
It's going to be a 4-to-1 vote. So
I want you to understand, by us putting forward a local law, we are not saying we are piercing the tax cap. It is an option in case something happens. I want you to make sure that you understand it, because when you sit there and say that it can be a 4-to-1 vote at piercing the tax cap, we are not piercing the tax cap. We are just having the option to do it in case our revenues go into the ocean, or something happens like Cooper's, or all of a sudden taxes on some of our big properties become uncollectible, or a lot of different things could occur. So all this is a safeguard. This is again a belts and suspenders to try and make sure that the village can operate if something horrible were to happen. That's all this is. This is not saying that we are going to pierce the tax cap. This is not saying that, it has to be done. It's a safeguard measure. Do you buy insurance on all your inventory in the store, in your store? Do you have insurance if anything goes?
This has nothing to do with my store.
It has nothing to do. As an individual, you want to be able to protect yourselves. And all this is protection for the village. That's all this is. So I would assume I have insurance for my business, for things. I'm sure that you do too, Jesse. And that's all this is this is an insurance for us as a board. And there is a time frame on it. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that we are aware of that, and that we don't, as Mark said, get caught with our pants down.
I don't love the analogy, but what I'm doing is I'm putting this board on notice. I am telling you, we have said yes to everything, which a lot of these, purchases are needed, but we cannot be spending the amount of money that we're spending. Well, some of us have not looked at the budget. We need to tighten up our process. We need a treasurer immediately. We need a village attorney immediately. And so I am putting this board on notice by telling you I'm not going to vote for this. I'm sure we'll get through, but I'm not going to vote for this because we are missing a treasurer, we are missing an attorney, and we are vacant other positions. We must get it together. You're right. We must do the work. And so I'm allowed to state my position. I'm the duly elected mayor. I'm one vote. That's the vote I get. I will use the vote the way I see fit. I understand your perspective. This is an option, but at the same time, I want to put us on notice. This is something that I must do, given the severity of what I believe the situation is, and I just want to put us on notice publicly, and that is what we have to do. We must deliberate in public. We must speak in public. We may disagree in public, but this is what I'd like to do. And so I'm more than happy to have us make this resolution. Obviously, couldn't stop us anyway, but at the same time, I'm going to be probably the lone vote here, and I would see, obviously, all perspectives. It's no problem. But what I'm doing is I'm just explaining and articulating the reason why I'm voting in this fashion.
Okay. And one of the reasons you just stated is that we are spending money. Are you talking similar to just spending money for a fire truck that money was put aside in capital reserves for? I mean, money has been put aside along years on, especially for large purchases like that. So that is not something that, ultimately is going to impact this year's budget, especially when money is set aside. So I just want to make that point very clear, too.
I mean, we have $576,000 of resolutions that we'll be approving tonight. I don't know to what extent we've looked at those resolutions. I don't know to what extent the treasurer has looked at those resolutions. Obviously not, because we don't have one. But that being said, there's a lot of money being spent in this village. We're a $31 million corporation, and that budget is growing and growing. And so I am making my point, and I've made it. So I see your perspective. It is no problem here. I'm essentially articulated what I need to. So I am ready to move on. We'll get to that resolution. It's going to pass anyway. We'll have that option. But ultimately, I am just simply doing the job that I believe I was elected to do. So I'm hoping we can move on to the next discussion item.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized for one thing?
I would like to just keep it rolling. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
The three members of the board, please recognize me.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. What I think is important to recognize is what we're voting on.
I don't think it works. Well, you can go. It's fine. I don't think it works that way because the mayor presides over the meeting. But
what I think is important, Mr. Mayor, to recognize is that what you're voting on tonight is a public hearing so that the public can come and be heard as to whether or not they feel it's important for you to do. You're not voting on on the ability to pierce the tax cap tonight. That vote would take place in March. Tonight, you're just voting to allow the public to come in and be heard on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
just so I had a conversation with NICOM earlier about this very topic, because ultimately we are the duly elected board of trustees and mayor, and it's our job to deliberate in public. If you'd like to make public comment, that's fine, but ultimately the council at NICOM did say that the mayor presides over the meeting, and as far as that goes, it's up for me to call on each individual. So while you could ask, I just want to make that clear, and I would appreciate if we can just stick to New York state law and NICOM guidance as far as that goes. So,
actually, if I may, I believe Robert's rules preside over the meeting, and so that is allowable, and I actually really appreciate that, because that clears up things much more on the local law, and I wish others could have stated it that clearly for me. So thank you, and that absolutely makes it an easy decision.
If you'd like to adopt Robert's rules, we can. NICOM does not recommend Robert's rules. We can adopt it if you'd like. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a bit cumbersome, and it's not recommended, but I would also recommend that this board does adopt some rules of order, a procedure. I think that would be actually very
We've been asking
smart.
for that for months, I believe.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to do that.
All right, let's get on to point number 4.
What's that?
let's stay on the
Okay, thank
discussion
you.
items.
Okay, so
Number 4.
the next is the tax sale certificates.
Hold on, Russell, is there a resolution to open the public hearing in our resolution section?
There isn't, but I have one drafted. If when we get to the resolutions at the end, if someone wants to move to put that resolution on, we can.
The next is the tax sale certificates.
Should,
Go ahead.
who would you
Okay.
like?
Sorry, I
would you
just
like
wanted to be recognized, sorry. So each year, taxes are due in June of each year. If they're not paid by June 30th, each month, 1% is, interest is added onto the amount owed. In March, the taxes that were not paid first of all, in February, beginning next week, all unpaid taxes for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, we run in an advertisement in the Southampton Press, beginning 2/20 of 2020. At that point, a 13% penalty has been imposed, as well as a $25 advertising fee. If before the tax sale on March 10th, the taxes are not paid, they go to the owed taxes go to auction. A municipality, a village, is permitted to purchase their own tax sales. Therefore, the village would be the beneficiary of the 13% penalty and the interest that continues to run. So when someone comes to pay their taxes, instead of someone else purchasing that lien, the village has that, and the village, the local resident comes in, pays their taxes to the village, and the penalty is received by the village as opposed to someone in the public that purchased it. So that's
May I ask a
something.
question about that?
Yes.
So in other words, generally, we're stopping somebody else from coming in and buying the tax lien?
We're technically not stopping them, but what we are announcing is that we are going to match the lowest bid by any other bidder. So essentially what happens is that when you sell these tax certificates, it goes to the lowest bidder. And what we're saying is we're going to purchase these tax certificates at the lowest price. So even if someone were to say, I'm not going to offer $1 more than what is owed, we would match it. So that's what
So that we're sure that we get our penalties.
Right. And what happens is, obviously people run into problems, financial difficulty, other types of things, or they're waiting to sell their property but they can't afford it. It's better for our village residents and our property owners in the fact that we hold the certificate so that it just, makes it.
No, right. To answer your question, Trustee Parrish, the ancillary effect of that is yes, that the homeowner or property owner would come to us as opposed to somebody private. But this was brought about, Steve Funch, when he was sitting in that chair, he's the one who brought that about for the board at the time because he did some legwork and discovered that the village could do that. And the point was, at the time of bringing it forward, was that if whatever extra percentage is going to be earned by somebody, why not let it be the village? And that was the primary purpose that we've been doing since.
Okay. The next discussion item is beach permit fees.
So annually, the village board has the ability to set the permit fees for parking at our village beaches. Based upon this past year and discussions with those at Cooper's Beach and residents, it was recommended that there be no change to any of the fees. There is a little more clarity in some practices that had never been codified by resolution that are in the resolution if adopted, that gives clarity to some things that have been a practice that oftentimes people come and ask, how do I establish residency if I rent? How do I establish residency if I live outside of the village, but in the school district? And then it also gives clarity to a practice and a policy that we've set up about 3 years ago with regards to hotels, motels, and B&Bs. But there's no recommendation of change in what we have charged.
So the pricing are all the same as this year?
All the same as it's been for the last 2 years.
And we're not broadening in any way the criteria?
We've not broadened the criteria.
It's not a fee per se, but I would actually like to impose limits on how many beach permits we can sell. This past summer, we had an issue in August at Old Town Beach, and a resident had bought a number of beach passes for his workers, and the workers were then entitled to park at the beach, and moms, families, surfers, etc., beachgoers could not actually find any parking. People were waiting for a while, and ended up actually getting involved and calling up this resident, did us a big favor and moved those cars. But we should do a little more due diligence as to kind of how many beach passes we're giving out, and understand why we're giving them out. We should also, for example, buying beach passes for workers on one's property. I don't think that we should be giving out beach passes for that, so I'd like to set up some type of mechanism where we can limit the number we give out just for someone could buy.
For residents or for anybody?
For anybody.
Because we have 10 now for hotels, B&Bs, and a minimum of 10, right? Is that, so are you looking to do for residents saying, look, you get 3 per property right now, but if you're going to purchase more, you can't purchase more than 5? 7, or make it, is that what you're thinking?
That's us for up to decide, but this specific instance was very exaggerated, and someone had purchased upwards of 20, and then we're literally parking every day.
Yeah, that's not good.
And so that's what we have to figure out how to avoid. I don't exactly know how to do that, but I would like to figure out a way with maybe not this meeting, but maybe next meeting we pass a resolution limiting the summer visitor permits that someone could buy,
Good point.
So
We have that issue in other hamlets that I called up as well, and same thing. They have a couple people that are just commandeering, 20, 30 permits, and the rest of the village can't take advantage of it, and I support that. I don't know what that number is, but I think, somebody having 22 permits is a lot.
You're right.
we could limit it for recreational activity. We can put a carve out for that. So anyway, I think we're all on the same page there.
Yep.
So with that said, we can move to landscaper registration. Trustee Allen, you want to speak about this, or?
Well, I was going to pass the baton to...
Sure. I guess I'll just explain it very simply. At our last meeting, we were asked, the board asked for Russell and I to explore whether we could amend our landscaper law to permit landscapers to register with the town in addition to the county. What we've learned is that the standard in the town versus the standard in the county is different, and enforcing 2 different jurisdictions would not be possible. So we would have to leave it as it is drafted, or explore other ways to accommodate people that don't want to have to get the county license.
Are there any recommendations of how that would exactly be done? Maybe through your discussion.
No, I thought I thought we could not have 2 different jurisdictions because there'd be an enforcement issue and there'd be a court issue. So we are going to and currently we're under the jurisdiction of Suffolk County.
Right.
But for the vast majority of large landscaping businesses, they're going to have Suffolk County, and they're going to have the town, and they're going to have everything else. But for the smaller landscaper, it's burdensome for them to go to Suffolk County. So I thought that Russell and you had talked to the town, and the town was open, I had actually spoken to Jay Schneiderman as well, as assuming that jurisdiction, so we would shift it from Suffolk County to the town, meaning our home improvement license would be accepted.
We currently don't have a home improvement license in
Right.
our code, so we would have to reenact that code provision.
Right. And then have an intermunicipal agreement with the town versus the county. I think we're saying the same thing.
So are you asking to put our home improvement law back on the books?
As long as it ties with the county.
That's what we would have to,
with the town.
that's what we would have to do.
So there is a way to fix it.
Mhm.
Right. I was under the
Yes.
impression that we were trying to do alter it and have a best ball theory, meaning either town or county, so you're saying that can't be done, it can't be done side by side.
Can't be done.
So what we have, the original draft was just for the county.
Right.
And people have said on a small level, for the larger operators, it's a non-event.
Right.
It's a non-issue. But for the smaller operators, they've, and we've all heard, I've heard many, that could be, it's an issue, in schooling classes and so forth, not just cost and time. So now door number 3 is,
It requires a little further investigation, but it seems like if we put our home improvement license law back into our village code, we could then work with the town.
because that was taken off.
It
at
was
some
many
point.
years ago,
Yes, okay,
in the
that's
early
right,
2000s.
Right. So an option here is to bring that back on the books, which covers what we're trying to do here, and then we can operate within the confinements of the town.
That's right.
And for that, we would need a public hearing. We'd have to go through that.
Yes.
Put it on.
We would have to draft the
We'd have to
legislation.
draft the legislation, okay.
Do a
And,
public
I mean, there's no way to say, I mean, we've heard the term mom and pop used tonight with our fire truck being built and stuff like that for their company. Is there a way to mitigate so that you could carve out a section of, so Suffolk County is for companies over X amount of employees, X amount of trucks. If you're a mom and pop with one truck, it's whatever, or no?
No.
That would be
Okay.
discriminatory. But they do it anyway, so they're not going to stop doing it. Okay, so where do we go?
Just
from here?
checking.
So that's still accommodating a lot of the concerns of the smaller operator.
Right.
Just having something on the books. But what you're saying, obviously, now this is redrafting, it's fine. So that, to address this gentleman who said something in public comment earlier this evening, he's gone now, where you're sitting.
Yeah.
So to answer his question, that nothing is happening, so that the answer would be that since we're approaching March, then there would be nothing on the books, which I'm fine with, for the coming season, and we'd be reevaluating this then for then, whatever.
It's on the books. We have to push
No, it's
off
not. No, we have nothing.
the effect.
No, the one she's talking about, the old, it was removed some years ago.
No, the home improvement, but we have the law on for
Effective March 1st.
effective March 1st. So we would have to push the effective date of the local law that was passed by the last administration to some other stage when we can then put the home improvement law in place and whatever else that adheres to, and then we could adopt the town, and then we could make our law, our landscaper registration law effective.
Right.
That's right,
That's
we got
right.
the March 1st thing. So we have to do something to stop that from occurring on March 1st?
We would do a resolution to adjourn the effective date.
How
Is
much
that-
time do you think we need? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, when would that be?
Yeah. Because we have to unwind the other one, because we're no longer looking to accept the license from Suffolk County. And then we would have to modify our current code to add the home improvement segment that was taken out years ago. And then we would have to engage in an intermunicipal agreement with the town, for which they're very supportive, which is good. And then the benefits being to our local community, it's right here, the application fees are lower, the application in and of itself is smaller, and I think it's a benefit for everybody. But the only thing is, from a legal standpoint, it's a lot of work, and just timing-wise, any sense, because should we push it back to, we're unwinding the March 1st date. Any sense on?
Doesn't like there would anything be brought up to remedy that in this immediate timeframe, so, I don't know.
I don't
Do you have to
see-
pick a date, or you say indefinitely? I mean,
We don't
what do
have
you
to
do?
pick a date, right? We just have to get the legislation rewritten and the intermunicipal agreement.
And I don't know how long that would take with the town. And we would have to go through the public hearing process again also on our end.
One of the recommendations, which you've done in some other stuff, would be to scrap the current thing altogether and say we're revisiting, or just push it forward?
I think we would have to do that, yes.
Before
Not
March
the
1st
end-
comes?
What's that?
Before March 1st comes up?
No, we could adjourn the March 1st effective date until we figure out, until we get the new legislation in place.
So we can pick some arbitrary number, 3, 4, 5, 6 months away, and then if, still by that point, if we're not any closer, we could
Yes.
continue to. But at least in the meantime, because to answer this gentleman's questions earlier, that we are doing something, we're still looking into it, but nothing will be taking effect for this upcoming season, for the landscapers.
Well, as of right now, it would be taking effect March 1st.
But we're
If you
talking
would
about
like
we're
to
moving it.
adjourn it, then yes.
Then in effect, to respond to that person's question,
Nothing's
nothing would be
happening.
happening for
Right.
this landscaper season. Okay.
But trustee Polero, you had a very good question, and I'm sorry, I didn't know if you had a question. You're good. So there's two pieces. There's the gas leaf blower ban, which continues, that doesn't change.
And then
And
just,
there was the desire and request by our community to have this license so that there was a level playing field in terms of people who were operating in the village. And this is the part that we, through our discovery, determined that the current way where we ask everybody to go to Suffolk County to get their license, which the majority of people didn't even know we were under the jurisdiction to begin with of Suffolk County, is too burdensome for the majority of our landscapers. So we're going to shift it to the county, the town, from the county to the town, and unwind the March 1st piece because it relates to the other jurisdiction, and work as best we can with our new attorney.
That's a good summation.
Okay.
So then would we be looking
So-
to adjourn to March 1st tonight? We'd have to, right?
Right.
Okay.
well, tonight or next week, or 2 weeks.
Are we too late if we do this at the next meeting, or should we do this now?
We could do it at the next meeting,
I mean,
unless you feel differently.
I definitely feel differently because I have a list this long of people who want to know what they need to do to
yeah,
comply.
I would think if we're, I think we're going to do it, then I think, then we act on it and do it. Because I think, I mean, that's not now happening, that's going to be the resolution, but I think that's the phase we're at, I believe. I'm at anyways. Anybody?
Trustee Allen, anything else?
No, I was just going to ask Mr. Cradaville if he had any, he wanted to elaborate a little bit on that.
I think adjourning the landscape registration for this year would be a help in a lot of ways, because I think even if somehow you were able to do something or didn't do something tonight, being able to get this information out to the landscapers, to get them back here by March 1st would be pretty difficult.
No, that's cool. I think that gentleman, he pretty much encapsulated the frustration from that group, so.
But that's exactly what we're attempting to do.
Yes.
We have this artificial date that's pegged against something that nobody wants, so
We're
we're going to pull it.
gonna pull it and make
Right.
it more artificial.
That's all we want to do. And then
Yes.
work on the right solution.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
which is what we've been doing thus
Yeah.
far. But important as what Russ just pointed out, and for that gentleman to point out who's in the business, they just want to know what the heck's going on. And the answer now we can tell them after doing this tonight is that right now it's status quo as from what it was last season.
Well, the answer too is a number of people were not satisfied with having to go to Suffolk County.
Correct. And they will not have to.
And we had to do the research to determine.
Correct.
Then some individuals wanted to have both the town and the county.
Right.
That research was undertaken, that took a while. Then we had to determine if we would have an opening with the town for an intermunicipal agreement. And Supervisor Schneiderman seemed very open to it when we spoke. So those are steps that we had
Yes.
to take, and they don't
Correct.
happen overnight.
No, that's why I was telling the gentleman, things have been
Yes,
occurring
right.
here. And now tonight has come to fruition. He should have stayed.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right, so next is communicate. We don't make public hearings tonight,
Sorry,
so
what date would we like to adjourn it to? Do you want to wait until after the summer?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, clear.
December 31st?
December.
December 31st? It's fine by me.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're not going to go after them come fall,
Yeah.
right? I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know, like you said before, you don't know how long it would take for an intermunicipal agreement.
Correct.
And so to try and put something like September 15th or in October, at that particular point, they're knee-deep in, their businesses again, back
Right.
in the fall, so. But the ultimate goal is to do this
I'm sorry.
right.
Do you need a date?
Do you need do we need a date, or can we just
Well, I think we
postpone
should,
it?
I think we should have.
Postpone it indefinitely until we have our home improvement law on the books, we have an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Southampton, and then we can revisit our implementation date. If you put those parameters in there, does that, it gives you, hoops to jump through and benchmarks.
It just might give the landscapers concern because they don't know
Yeah.
when the effective date's
The
going to
ambiguity
be.
could affect, like that gentleman said, is just what? So pick a date, just December, November, I mean.
But again, we don't know that because we're not sure how long that goes, and rather than
Right.
revisit, all right, no later than 90 days after X, Y, and Z. Or no earlier than 90 days after X, Y, and Z happens. So we know we have the home improvement agreement, law in place on our books. We now, however long that takes, we know that we have the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Southampton. And again, we'll be talking about this, so it's not like they're going to be in a void, in a vacuum. And then, once that is in place, then we're saying 90, no sooner than 90 days will we impose the landscaper registration. And that way, it allows us flexibility, so in case it takes a year or however long to get everything done, we're not coming back and saying, all right, we're going to postpone it again. How long, and have the same kind of, what date are we picking?
That's fine.
If that makes
That's
sense.
fine.
And if that can be done, I don't know. I'm looking to you.
Yes, that's fine.
Great.
You can do it indefinitely also, but I just think that it'll cause concern for the local landscapers who are paying attention to this because they won't know they'll feel like they have to check in all the time. That's all.
December 31st.
December 31st.
December 31st.
Trustee, anything else?
No, I think everybody's discussed all the points, and I think you raised a good point, which is people want to know, and we don't have the answers.
Right.
We don't have the dates, so.
The answer they'll be able to get is that for the time being, county won't be required, and they're going to want to really know that part. Quite honestly, that's what they want to know. The answer will be no, that's not required.
I don't think so. I think they are under the jurisdiction of the county, until we change it.
Yeah. Well, they are, but we're not putting it on our books, that's
Right.
my point, so.
But the county can come here at any
The
point.
county, yes, they always could, yes.
And they do their
And they do
sweep.
that, and they do that, yes.
And they'll continue to do that.
But we're not caught funny, is what they really want to know, which will be the answer to that.
Right,
And then
right,
we
right.
will be addressing it at December 31st. Or sooner. I mean, it doesn't preclude us from doing it sooner.
That's right.
If things align, so, okay.
All right, thank you, everyone. We now have communications to the board.
We'll do a resolution.
Okay.
Yes.
Do it now, or we can do it during the
I have it written
resolutions?
down
Okay.
to get to it. Yep.
So would you like to do it during the resolution section, or should we do it now?
Do it, the resolution.
No, we'll do it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. The first communication to the board is a memo that I've addressed to the board appointing Kathy Sweeney to the position of deputy clerk. As mayor, I am allowed to fulfill a vacancy. I can do that without board approval. I'm fortunate that we are able to do that. Kathy Sweeney recently retired from the Air Force. She's a military veteran. Again, she's a master sergeant. She's a woman, and I'm thrilled to have the ability to appoint her to the position of deputy clerk to fulfill a vacancy that was created by the retirement of Eileen Musara. I do want to add, just so the public is aware of this, I never would have been able to make that appointment if I had to do this with board approval. Even the fact that she's a woman, military veteran. And I want to make that clear. So I'm happy that we're able to use New York State law to at least get one appointment through.
How could you say that?
How could you say that? We hired her.
Yeah.
We hired her. This board hired her. You filled a vacancy when Eileen retired, but this board, all of us, hired her when her name was put forward. It's in the minutes. You can check them.
Exactly.
And I'm slightly offended.
What did happen was that I informed the board that I would not be appointing anyone else, and this was my pick, and the board had a choice between giving her 2 months of training or having no one. And at least the board picked somebody, because as we've shown from other things, with no clerk and no treasurer and no village attorney, we have picked nobody. So again, I just exercised my authority here as mayor, and it's not a laughing matter. We are in violation of state law. We are in violation of state law. I've made this crystal clear to this board. We are absent a clerk, we are absent a treasurer.
Can we get back on to our communications? And it would be nice if you just read the communications as is and not
that we got the
opine
appointment
on
through,
them.
and it's necessary.
I don't think that the board is taking this as seriously as this matter is, and I have to make this available to the public.
Can we get back onto the agenda then, as council advised?
The next communication to the board is Cynthia McNamara, Tiana Shores Landscaping, regarding the landscaper registration.
Ms. McNamara essentially is stating what many small businesses were stating, that she prefers that if the village could look into getting an intermunicipal agreement with the town.
Hopefully you'll be happy, Ms. McNamara.
Yes. She's been vocal about that.
Thank you for that. The next is Diane Englander, recommendations for Lake Agawam.
It's a letter dated February 11th to the board, and she outlines some thoughts and plans with regards to the cleanup of Lake Agawam.
And finally, we have David Lopez, Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, regarding a fee waiver.
This came in today. The Southampton Hospital is doing a pharmacy renovation and adding some car charging stations. The building permit fees would be $7,508 for the pharmacy renovation, $500 for the charging station, and he is asking on behalf of the hospital that this village waive those fees.
Any comments from the board?
Just a question, car charging stations, like to hear that, and that would be open to their patients and staff only, or just, not that that's relevant, but
Yeah, where are they putting them?
where are they putting them, right?
Don't know.
We don't know.
Is this something that we have done in the past?
Yes.
Waiving fees for the hospital?
Yeah, I asked Chris Talbot that earlier, and he said that for as long as he can remember, they've waived the hospital's fees. Doesn't mean you have to do it now, but historically, they
On a regular
They've done
basis or case by case, or we
No,
done it?
regularly.
Okay, that's fine.
Certainly don't want to be the one. I might need it in a little bit, so.
Yeah, yeah, pharmacy's good. Yeah, so which practice we've done.
Do we need to make a?
There'll be a
motion?
resolution.
Is there one?
I can make a resolution at the end of the, I've written a note to make a resolution at the end.
Our next phase is suggested resolutions. Resolved that the meeting of the minutes for public sessions of January 21st, 2020 be dispensed with, and with that, those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby ratified and approved. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Russ, would you like to take this one, please?
Entertain a motion resolved that the claims for the warrants dated January 9th, for the warrants and claims dated February 13th, 2020. We'll entertain a motion to change that date to February 13th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
February 13th, 2020, totaling $576,842.44, warrant number 12 of the general fund, and $451,261.97, warrant number 9, capital reserve fund, and the village payrolls for the period January 3rd, 2020 to February 13th, 2020 be audited and approved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Invoices over $1,000. Nine Brothers Building Supply Corporation, $2,452.83, paving stones for Agawam Park. Abel Amir, $1,000, medical reimbursement. AC Electrical Supplies, $1,092.08, supplies and materials for building maintenance. Advanced Imaging Systems, $1,053.45, copier expenses. Alliance Systems Integrations, $2,584, service calls for LPR and various police cameras. Atlantic Salt, $12,419.05, salt for the highway. Barnwell House of Tires, $2,304.26, tires for the fleet. Black Bear Lubricants, $1,023.74, Central Garage Lubricants. Cast Productions, $1,740, videographer. CMC Rescue, Inc., $4,996. Rope Rescue Training for the Fire Department. Coastal Fire Systems, Inc., $8,398.62. Self-contained breathing apparatus cylinders for gas meter coverage, covers gas meters for the fire department. CSE employee benefit, $32,679.68, dental and vision premium. Dell Marketing, $2,553.40, network equipment and firewall for the ambulance. East End Locksmiths, $1,154, lock repairs at the police department and highway department. Eileen Toohey, $1,023.75, that's the internal auditor. SA Plumbing and Heating, $2,395, plumbing repairs and maintenance for St. Andrews Firehouse and the police department. Firematic Supply, $3,368.13, 14-inch chainsaw package and various equipment for the fire department. First Presbyterian Church, $3,000, parking lot rental. Fluid Imagery, $2,662.50, support upgrades for the police department. It was $1,200 in various department repairs and services. Fundamental Business Services, $1,176, court fee collection services. Galls LLC, $1,227.98, police uniforms. General Code Publishers, $8,629, Avante software maintenance for the building department. Glencoe Supply, $2,147, galvanized signpost for the highway department. Granger, $13,004.68, metal cutter, iron press, and for central garage, and ice melt with the largest in there. Garbage can liners and asphalt patch with actually the three largest in there, and the rest were supplies for various departments. Herrick Hardware, $1,668.76, supplies and materials for all departments. Joseph Hurley, $1,000, medical reimbursement. Island Tech Services, $2,302, firewall software for the fire department. Johnson Electrical Construction Corp., $1,420, traffic signal maintenance. JP Mulvey Plumbing and Heating, service $1,236.05, service calls for Village Hall and the Police Department. Lion, $4,554, 2 smart dummies for the fire department. McKesson Medical Surgical, $2,233.54, ambulance supplies. Messiano Consultant, $1,040, grant consultant. Mace Mormon, $1,000, medical reimbursement. Morgan Auto Supply, $1,756.86, auto supplies for the fleet. Mutt-Met, $1,142.35. Those are Mutt-Mitts for village streets and beaches. National Centers Advocacy Center, $1,299. That's forensic interviewing of children training for the police department. Norsec and Son, $5,152. Village Trash. The New York State Municipal Workers' Comp Alliance, $216,878. Workers' compensation premium. NYTOA, $1,199.96. SWAT tactical training for the police department. Office of State Controller, $24,292. That's the state portion of court fines. Optimum, $2,622.14. Cable internet village-wide. Otis Ford, $1,555.39. Repair on vehicles. PC Truck Equipment Repair, Inc., $2,556.51. Equipment for central garage. Petro Home Services, $3,723.14. Heating oil. PSE&G, $18,955.77. That's for utilities. Revco Electrical Supply, $1,276.38. Electrical supplies for building maintenance. South Fork Asphalt, $50,094. That's drainage projects. Southampton Excavating, $1,825. That's for disposal of stumps and purchasing of gravel. Southampton Fire Department, $1,459.20. That's travel reimbursement for training. Sprague Operating, $5,913.96. That's gas for the fleet. Stryker Sales, $1,196. And do you know what that is, Stryker? Is that you? I will have to get back to the board. I do not have that, recall what that is. Suburban Auto Service, $2,968.33. Repair for a Deere versus vehicle. Suffolk County Water Authority, $26,913.60. That's hydrant rental. Town of Brookhaven, $5,406.84. Sweepings disposal. Trias, $4,554.73. Vac truck repair. Turning Stone Resort, $1,400. Training for the police department. Vehicle tracking solutions, $1,271.47. GPS. Verizon Wireless. Wireless services for the village, $2,866.09. WB Mason, $1,836.94. Supplies for all departments. Whitmer Associates, $7,039.50. That's for ambulance apparel. Wright National Flood Insurance, $21,664. That's flood insurance for Cooper's Beach. Moving on to capital expenditures. All Island Equipment, $17,441.36. That's a cold planer for the highway, adopted by Village Board resolution. DZ Food Equipment Repair, $2,350. That's the additional work that needed to be done on the dishwasher, approved by this board by resolution. Firematic Supply, $10,591.56. Various fire department equipment, also by Village Board resolution. Morton Buildings, Inc., $310,935. Construction manager for the ambulance. Motorola Solutions, $9,816. That's 800 band radios for the police department, also by Village Board resolution. Municipal Testing Laboratory, $3,884.70. Concrete testing for the ambulance. National Auto Fleet Group, $33,415.23. That's the light, Silverado for central garage, also by Village Board resolution. PSE&G, $2,464.11. Utilities at the new ambulance barn. Pursuit Auto Emergency Division, $3,410.51. Emergency lights for a police vehicle. Rollins Electric, $25,400. That's electrical and wiring at the ambulance. Van Bortle Ford, $31,129.45. A police vehicle by Village Board resolution, the Chevy Traverse. All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate line item overages for the period ending February 13th, 2020. Your motion.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Debit to mayor's contractual expenses, $220. Credit to clerk equipment, $220. Police overtime standby, debit $80,000. Credit $80,000 contingent account. Radio operators, holiday, vacation and travel, debit $1,000. Radio operators miscellaneous, credit $1,000. Street lighting supplies, debit $4,000. Buildings contractual services, credit of $4,000. Cooper's contractual services, debit of $175. Cooper's miscellaneous, credit of $175. All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Melanie Michelle Gira as registrar effective February 13th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Is she filling a vacancy, or?
There is a vacancy.
And it's is an unexpired term for anyone?
I think
No.
there was,
No, this is not an unexpired trade. There's a vacancy with the retirement of Eileen as registrar.
So that's removing up Eileen, so
Right.
Kathy's moving up to the deputy.
Now,
Okay.
right.
Just checking.
Wasn't she always registrar?
No,
I
she
mean,
was deputy
always
registrar.
signed-
Deputy.
Deputy
That's why
registrar. Right,
Kathy
she was
just took
deputy
over her
registrar.
spot, and she gets moved up to Eileen
And when
as the
people,
registrar.
and when Eileen wasn't reappointed, we were violating the law in that we didn't have a registrar and this had to be
No.
executed.
Right, at that time,
Right,
yes.
at that time,
Comment on
yes.
that,
Okay,
That's not my problem.
yeah, because she couldn't sign the birth
Eileen
and
was
death.
reappointed.
I know, but it was later than organizational day. So then we received a letter from, I don't know where, indicating,
New York State Health.
for New York State, yeah.
Right, so we had a motion and second. Did we vote?
We did not.
All
I don't
in
think we
favor?
voted yet.
Yeah,
think you did.
okay. Let's just, all in
Do it
favor?
one more time.
Okay.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Mayor Warren requests a motion, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hires Victor Crump Jr. as a custodial worker 1 in the Building Maintenance Department effective March 6, 2020, at a rate of $45,298.13. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby recalls and rescinds Resolution Number 12 of January 21, 2020, regarding a public hearing to amend Chapter 73 landscaper registration.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby proclaims 2 Hobart SR 24H commercial under-counter dishwashers be deemed surplus and authorizes the DPW superintendent to auction through Auctions International.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves Courtney Dombrowski as a probationary member of the Southampton Village Fire Department Hook and Ladder Company Number 1, effective February 13th, 2020.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves Daniel Claude as a probationary member of the Southampton Village Fire Department Fire Police Company Number 1, effective February 13th, 2020.
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You were-
Entertain
I
a-
jumped in for you.
Who seconded it, though?
Trustee
Allen.
Well, actually, I had her as motion and trustee Ostrowski as second. I'm not sure you were all talking at once.
That wouldn't be the first
That's
time
why
that
I-
happened. We're good at that.
I had Alan and
Since this
Yashtremski.
is
That's
the,
what I had.
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the purchase of spotlights, nozzles, and hose valves at a cost not to exceed $6,500 from Capital Reserve Fire Equipment, subject to permissive referendum.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Yashtremski.
Aye.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Parish.
Aye.
Trustee Polero.
Aye.
Do you think I need to read the whole thing, or just the resolved? I can do it.
The whole thing, I'm sorry.
Whereas the planning board has issued a conditional resolution dated June 3rd, 2019, in the application of Hampton's HDA LLC for site plan approval for the redevelopment of 116 North Sea Road, Southampton, subject to certain terms and conditions. Whereas Condition 3 provides that Hampton's HDA LLC shall offer for dedication a certain strip of land, more particularly described in Condition 3, and whereas the Board of Trustees, in accordance with their powers set forth in Village Law Section 4412, wish to accept the offer of dedication, therefore, I entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the offer of dedication as more fully described in a conditional resolution dated June 3rd, 2019, and authorizes the mayor to execute any and all documents to effectuate said acceptance and the proper recording of the offer of dedication.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I just ask, what strip is that again? What property is that? Wait, refresh me.
It's on the corner of North Sea Road and Bowden Square. It's the White House. It's being redeveloped into a bank. The planning board approved it. Part of the approval was a condition that they offer this strip of land. It's about 7 feet, and the reason for doing that was in the future the village would have the option of creating a left left turning lane.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the application of EJ Autism Foundation for the annual Real Aid Relay Walk on May 17th, 2020.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the application of Southampton Rotary for the annual Firecracker 8K run on July 5th, 2020.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees approves that the Village of Southampton hold its own tax certificates.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees sets the fees for the 2020 beach parking permits as outlined below. I can read them if you want. Resident permit, free, 3 permits per property, 1 permit per business owner or manager. Any additional permits may be purchased at the summer visitor rate. Local non-village resident, $250. Senior vet, local non-village resident, $175. The name of the individual on the registration of the vehicle must qualify as a resident or non-resident. Renters must have established residency for a period of no less than 1 year prior to the date of purchase to receive either village resident or non-village residence permits. Summer visitor permit, $450. Hotels, motels, B&Bs must purchase a minimum of 10.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now,
We have that final resolution for the public hearing.
yes, so we did the truck. First, we have a motion to adjourn landscaping legislation as outlined in, I will get the local law.
Right, I think we could just say motion to adjourn the effective date of March 1st for the local landscaper law until
December 31st.
December 31st, 2020.
All right? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we're going to entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees schedules a public hearing on March 12th, 2020, to establish a local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law 3C, and directs the village administrator to publish and post a notice of public hearing.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Trustee Yastrzemski.
Aye.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Nay.
Trustee Parrish.
Aye.
Trustee Polero.
Aye.
Okay, we'll now entertain a motion to waive the fees, the building department fees for the hospital for the renovations to their pharmacy, as well as the addition of charging stations.
So moved.
There's a second.
Just maybe clarify the three charging stations.
3 charging stations.
Is it 3?
Is it
Because
3?
it didn't say that in the...
I think it did.
It just said start charging stations, or maybe
I think it said
didn't see
3.
Did it say 3? Maybe the first time.
It just says, yeah, it says car charging stations.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
I'm sorry.
pharmacy renovation.
What happens?
So, no, it's okay. No. So I'm gonna start it again. Say, entertain a motion to waive the building department fees for the 2 projects, the pharmacy renovation and the car charging stations for Stony Brook Southampton Hospital. There's a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. We now have comments from board members. Trustee Yastrzemski.
Good, other than happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Would be nice. Heartfelt. And I just want to thank the board again for listening and entertaining the resolution for the fire department for vehicle purchase. Good questions. As usual, a lot of discourse up here, different views, ideas to work them out. So I thank you guys for the support.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your hard work. Trustee Allen.
I'll start with a really exciting topic. Our Village Tax Grievance Day is this coming Tuesday. Trustee Polaro and I will be present. I think it's from 12 to 4.
Yes.
Okay.
God bless you.
With our tax receiver, Danielle and Bill McCoy. We had our quarterly safety committee meeting this week, and the purpose of that is to prevent and reduce risks to our staff and protect our insurability. And we have the good news that over the past 4 to 5 years, we've been averaging 4 to 5 instances, and then this quarter we had 0. So Trustee Polaro, myself, all the department heads were there, and we met with, I guess, our insurance provider, along with a state or county, I don't know what, state or county risk assessor. So hats off to all the department heads, because we've really, this is a big deal to not have somebody be injured on the job. But it was a big learning for us, because in the summertime, the issues that affect our staff are, believe it or not, heat stress or ticks or traffic. Makes sense, right? And then in the wintertime, you can probably guess, yeah, slip and fall or too cold, and they give us advice here on how to walk, and apparently everybody's supposed to do the penguin walk. Put your feet out a little bit, put your arms out a little bit, and do that.
Do you want to get out and demonstrate
No, I
that for us?
know. But the good news is we're at 0, so we're saving money with that. Thank you, department heads and departments. Also, thank you, everybody. Father Patrick is sitting in our village boardroom today. You did a great job yesterday with playing the Mad Hatter, along with Georgette Chapek, who was the Queen of Hearts, and of course Tom Edmond and Liana, and Lori Collins was there, and Mary Lynch, and it was very uplifting to see everybody perform, as well as sing all the love songs to the jukebox that I guess was donated to the Southampton History Museum. So the community is what it's all about, and I really appreciated that, so thank you. And I'm looking forward to our upcoming senior lunch. And I guess I'll spill the beans. I'm officially a senior, so now everybody knows what my age is. And I can actually go to this meeting and go to this lunch and have the shepherd's pie. So I look forward to that.
Great.
Thank you very much. Trustee Parrish?
Quickly, Highway Department, 15 trees that were damaged or down during this last storm we had last week. The crew got out there quickly. Paul sent me an email describing every single location and what was happening. They got those removed out of the way quickly. That was very good work. Started garbage cans, cleaning and locks, and removing and replacing liners inside. So that's one of the things that they're going to be going around and cleaning them up and getting them ready for the upcoming season. So they are in great shape. Also, I spoke to Gary and Paul today with the new drains that were put in, which did a great job over the last couple days of storm. With that, a little bit of the earth got unraveled around there, and so they will be going around and tamping that down and straightening that out so we don't have all these intersections that are bumpy. But they wanted to do that, they informed me, because they needed the heavy rain to settle it down. So they'll be going out there and correcting that and getting it smoother until we can then pave. Parks have done a good thing right now of removing benches and taking them back to the DPW to clean. So they started that process. Also, they are repainting flower boxes for the streets, and they're making new ones. I believe they've already constructed 20 new ones already that were damaged, and so to get those out there, that's good. And you know what the greatest thing is? They've been waiting for snow. We're not getting anything, but they are keeping busy ahead while the weather's good. So that's it. And happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I have 3 kisses here, and I'll make up a 4th. They go all to the board tonight.
Thank you.
All right?
Trustee Polaro?
I'll wait for mine later.
No.
I'll be the 4th.
Hershey kisses, that's what I meant.
There isn't much left after all of that. Thank you, Trustee Allen, for the safety. That was one of the things I was going to mention. I also would like to point out the new seal that we have on our podium. Still waiting for the podium, but the new seal is there. It fits, and so thank you, Julie, for taking that on and doing it. And happy Valentine's Day to all.
Thank you very
much. Love will be in the air.
Thank you. A few quick things here. DPW, also wanted to thank them as well. For those watching, you will have seen drainage and catch basins being installed on Hampton Road and Main Street. For years, we had a lot of flooding there. We asked Gary Gillespie to help address that, so we'll see how that works out, but we're hoping that that massive flood that you constantly see cars getting stuck in and having a tow truck pull them out, we hope that that's fixed. We've fixed drainage on Meeting House, on David White's Lane and Hampton Road, and also on Woolley Street. So I was sitting on the street, on Main Street, on a bench, and people were giving me high fives the other weekend. I was, why are you giving me a high five for? They said, well, the drainage on Woolley Street is great. So thank you to the DPW department for the good work there. One serious note, we are shortly going to adjourn into executive session, and I would just want to encourage the board. I would love and appreciate if we can come back out here versus opening the door. I believe it's time to kind of get things, I'll call it appropriate. I don't think that's a lot to ask, but it'd be nice to just have it done in a more standardized form. So I'm just hoping that we can do that today. And then a few other fun things to note. We've reached out to the Mr. Frazier, principal of the intermediate school or middle school, and we'll have our 8th graders participating for the first time ever in the NICOM, the New York Council of Mayors, 8th grade essay contest, and the theme is what I would do if I were mayor. And so I'm looking forward to reading all these essays to gather some good ideas. The winner will be going up to Albany for a paid trip to meet with members of NICOM as well as some state legislators, hopefully. So I'm excited. We've also asked the 8th graders at Our Lady of the Hamptons to participate. So you might see some of the 8th graders coming into the Village Hall. Chief, if it's okay with you, we might take them to see the police department because that is part of the mayoral purview. They might have some suggestions for you as well. So don't be afraid when they come in. And in fact, actually, one of the 8th graders last year said that he would install catch basins to eliminate flooding. I said, it's a pretty good idea. We're going to do that. That's why you'll see a $50,000 bill from South Fork Asphalt in our resolutions. And finally, February is Black History Month, and I just wanted to recognize that. We are hoping to have, again, some of our middle school students come in to present on some of their ideas of the most important members of our country that are African American. There are many, to recognize, of course, being a big sports fan. I always had looked up to Jackie Robinson, who really led the charge as far as bringing a African American component into Major League Baseball. And I remember my grandfather had met him, and he spoke so highly about him. And I remember that conversation with my late grandfather about meeting him. And there are so many other members. Most recently, Governor Cuomo had dedicated a park to Shirley Chisholm, who also was a leader in New York State. And as she said, if you're not invited, grab pull up a chair and grab a seat. And I subscribe very much to that perspective and point of view, and look up to many of our African American and Black leaders. So it takes a lot of courage, and many of us don't know what it's like to be sometimes in other people's shoes. And I really appreciate what members have done in our community, both locally and nationally. So I just wanted to recognize, and hopefully we'll have some members from our schools come in and present in our next board meeting. So thank you to our board. Of course, every board meeting is going to have some contentious points, but I'm happy we're able to work everything out. And with that said, we'll move to second public comment.
I'm sorry, I did forget one thing.
Yeah, please.
My apologies, please, Mayor. I just wanted to, I forgot to mention, we put a shout out to my son, Cole. He made Dean's List. He made Dean's List for his first semester in his program.
Aww,
so in Binghamton.
fabulous.
So congratulations, buddy. We're proud of you. Yeah, I forgot to mention it.
Thank you. All right. So with that said, we can move with second public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board could approach the podium, state your name and address for board minutes. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? Okay. With that said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual, personnel, and legal matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank Thank you.
Thank you.